Well, good evening, Hearth and Homies. Where have you guys been? Tonight's episode is yours truly, Johnny Dollar, the Bob Bailey Years, and this is Volume 8. We'll be featuring the Jolly Roger Fraud Matter and the Lamarr Matter. Now, these are the 15-minute 5-part episodes, but I've taken the 5 parts and condensed them down to 1 episode each, so I have 2 episodes that are a little over an hour each. Now, I know it's been a little bit since I posted a show. I had to take some time because I was working on some other projects. One of those projects is I went and got a real estate license. That's right. Mr. H is now a licensed realtor in the state of Alabama. That being said, if you live in the U.S. and you need a realtor, either you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, if you're not already working with someone, contact me through the email here on this channel, and I'm going to put a link to my email down in the description below. And you send me an email letting me know where you live, a contact number, if you're looking to buy, sell, and even if I'm not in your state, I am part of a large network of realtors, and I'd be more than happy to help you find somebody to help you out. I've also got some exciting things planned for the channel, including some new compilations, and we're going to do a few live shows. Some of those are going to be right here on Hearth and Home Entertainment, and then some of them are going to be over on Hearth and Home Nostalgia. If you haven't already subscribed to Hearth and Home Nostalgia, I'm going to put a link to that below as well. Now, tonight's episode, I'm really excited because I got some more footage from our friend Jake Hellbach, and of course, he has shot some Johnny Dollar specific stock footage. Okay, so I had some fun, and I edited some of the footage together to kind of match the show to give us some visual storytelling. And if you haven't already checked out his channel, I'll have a link to the channel in the description below, and check him out. And I encourage you to subscribe to his channel. He's got some great stuff. If you like the old time radio, I think you probably like some of the old fashioned things and maybe the aesthetics of days gone by. And I tell you, he shoots some amazing footage, really great content on his channel. He's got some gear review if you're interested in filming and photography. And it's just a really fun channel. So check him out. Tell him Mr. H sent you. Yeah, go check him out. And if you haven't subscribed to him, go ahead and subscribe. He's so close to 1,000 subscribers. I'd love to see him get over that 1,000 mark. And he's really just got a lot of fun content there. So I think you'll really enjoy it. Another thing to look for, if you haven't already seen it, is over on Odyssey.com. I do post a lot of these same videos, but some of them I'll post with black screen for sleep. So check out over there. Of course, I'll put a link in the description below. And I just want to say a special thanks to all of you that signed up for the Johnny Dollar Club at $1 a month. Man, it's an incredible bargain. It just helps the channel go. You can join through Patreon. You can join through Buy Me a Coffee. And so many of you have just bought us coffees, and we really appreciate your generous gifts, and the coffees help keep us going. And don't forget, if you do need a realtor, I'd be more than happy to help connect you with someone in your area, help you find or sell the house of your dreams. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's compilation. As always, we've taken this classic old-time radio show and paired it with some visual storytelling, some relaxing fireplaces for the OTR visual radio, a unique old-time radio viewing experience. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Check him out and tell him Mr. H sent you. Tell him Mr. H sent you. That's hard to say.
From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
Hi, Johnny. Pat McCracken at Universal Adjustment.
Hello, Pat.
Listen, I have something here I think maybe...
Whoa, hold it, boy. I've already packed.
Huh? You are?
Yep, taking off in about an hour. First plane out I can get.
Well, how'd you know?
I've been planning it for months.
How could you? It only happened last Thursday.
Pat,
Yeah?
I'm going on a vacation far, far away to sunny Southern California. Little town of La Jolla. And to help me keep out of sight from such as you, I'm taking along all my skin diving outfit. Bye.
Well, wait, Johnny. That's right next door.
To what?
The case I want you to handle for us in San Diego.
Just changed my plans, Pat. I'm going to Florida.
No, listen, Johnny. There's enough commission on this case to pay for 2 vacations. And as long as you're going to be right there in Southern Cal anyway, look, why don't you drop in on me before you take off?
Okay, sucker.
What?
Just talking to myself. I'll see you.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Universal Adjustment Bureau, Hartford, Connecticut. Following is an accounting of expenditures incurred during my investigation of the Jolly Roger fraud. Expense account item 1, taxi for myself and my vacation luggage to the offices of Universal Adjustment, 436 Parley Street, Hartford, in the hope I could argue both Pat McCracken and myself out of taking on the case. The last 2 cases I'd handled for Pat had almost cost me my life, and I was beginning to be a bit superstitious about anything he had a hand in. But trying to talk him down was like trying to talk down your mother-in-law.
Maybe your skin diving trick will help you crack the case. But the main thing is you're going to California anyhow. This way you can put your whole vacation on expense account.
Pat.
And, baby, if I know you run down the case in about 2 days, come up with a swindle sheet for a couple of weeks.
Pat.
To say nothing of the commission I mentioned over the phone.
Listen, will you?
You see, the Jolly Roger was insured by Southwest Maritime Insurance and Liability for 460 G's. Bert Parker, in their San Diego office, can give you all the dope on it.
Bert Parker?
Sure, you remember him. Handed you the Molly Kay matter a few months ago. A very profitable case for you, wasn't it? Well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but now look,
So you'll clean up on this, too. The Jolly Roger, you know, was one of the finest seagoing yachts on the West Coast.
No, I didn't know. But, Pat, I'm
Big
not going
diesel job, 110 feet long. Floating palace. Probably the most luxurious wooden hull job built since the...
Wooden hull? 110-foot diesel job? Wooden
Yeah.
hull?
And that, unfortunately, is why she burned to the waterline before the weight of her engines carried her down to Davy Jones's locker.
Total loss, huh?
Total. $460,000 gone.
That's too bad. Well, Pat, it was nice seeing you again. Now I got to get my plane to New York to get my plane for the coast.
But I haven't even told you why we want you to look in on this thing,
Pat, I am going to the coast on a vacation, remember?
But I told Bert that you were on your way.
You told what?
Sure. Phoned him right after I talked to you.
Well, you dog.
Sure. He's promised to contact the Mexican authorities that you may need to help you and have everything all...
How are they involved? Oh, now, look, Pat, enough of this. I got to get
Sure. My car's right downstairs, and I can tell you the rest I know.
No. Tell it to somebody else. I'm going out there on a vacation.
Baby, you can't let me down on this one. Look, we haven't got any regular man out there, only a couple of part-timers like Bert Parker. You know, sell the policies with one hand and act as adjusters with the other.
I got to go.
Sure. You see, here, I'll take that back. And this one. You see, that works out all right on small accounts, but on these big ones... Wow, what do you got in here? A case of scotch?
Pat, will you shut up a minute and let me
Not
tell
on
you?
your life. That'd give you a chance to change your mind about taking on the... Here's the elevator. Oh, excuse me, lady. Sorry. Now, I still haven't told you why we smell something wrong in this whole case. It's simply and clearly this, John Boy.
Yeah, it's simply and clearly this. The diesel yacht Jolly Roger was owned by one Paula Zaganian, ex-rum runner, ex-gun runner, ex-shipping magnate, suspected spy through 2 world wars, and generally undesirable character despite the millions he'd made. During the last war, he cleaned up by scaring some of the smaller countries into buying a lot of obsolete military equipment that was hardly fit for the scrap pile. And in more than one place around the world, there was anything but a welcome mat waiting for him. And in a lot of places, a lot of countries, the minute he landed his seagoing palace, the gendarmes would stick to him like flies to a molasses barrel just to make sure he behaved himself. Anyhow, trying to argue with Pat was useless, so I agreed to take on the case. Expense account items 2, 3, and 4. $190.04. Plane fares and incidentals, Hartford to New York, New York to Los Angeles, L.A. to San Diego, where I hope to grab a cab to La Jolla before Bert Parker could find out I'd arrived. But I was met at the airport, but not by Bert Parker.
Mr. Dollar.
Yeah?
I thought you were by the description.
Well, don't tell me they've got me on those wanted posters out here, too.
Oh, silly. I'm Jan Penny, Mr. Parker's office. You know, Southwest Insurance and Liability.
Maybe I ought to take the case after all.
I'm going to work with you on it.
Oh, no, I'm sure I will.
You see, Mr. Parker's in the hospital. When he received Mr. McCracken's wire about your time of arrival, he asked me to meet you here.
Hospital? What's the matter with him?
It's supposed to have been an accident. Hit and run.
Well, what do you mean, supposed to be?
Bert thinks they tried to run him down deliberately.
Who?
I think he'd better tell you about it.
Yeah, I think somebody better. We picked up my luggage, dropped it off at a hotel. I phoned the place I'd made a reservation in La Jolla and told them I might be a day late. And Jan Penny and I went on over to the Queen of Mercy Hospital to talk with Bert Parker. On doctor's orders, I went into his room alone. Bert looked terrible.
So glad you could make it, Johnny.
Hey, you sure you want to be trying to talk, Bert? Look, why don't we forget it now?
I have to talk. Well, I can, Johnny. They try to kid me, tell me I'll be out of here in a couple of days. That line, I saw the chart. Internal bleeding.
Hey, Bert. Bert, take it easy, will you? Look, the doc said you have to take it easy. Why can't your gal Jan tell me all I need to know on the case?
She can't accept this getting run down.
Yeah, she said she thought it wasn't an accident.
She thinks. I know.
Yeah?
Phone calls. Threatening phone calls.
Threatening? About what, Bert?
Because of holding up on this claim. Somehow somebody found out. I called Hartford. Asked for investigation.
Who?
Nagin denies that he...
The owner of the Jolly Roger?
Yeah. Denies knowing anything about the calls, but they weren't kidding Johnny. That's why I'm here.
Then they probably know I was asked to come out here.
Johnny.
Yeah?
Johnny better go back. Drop this one.
Oh, Bert.
If they know you're here, they may try to... Johnny.
Yeah?
Hurts, Johnny.
Nurse! 3 hours later, while Jan, Penny, and I paced the corridor, Bert Parker died. The only thing I'd learned from him was that I'd better be careful. Mighty careful. I took Jan Penny to the roughest, toughest dive I could find, Ray Kemper's Cat Club, in the hope we could both drown a sorrow or two.
Why, Johnny? Why did it have to be Bert?
You liked him, didn't you?
I loved him. I loved Bert. Now he's... Let's have another drink.
Hey, Jan, don't you think maybe... Oh. Waiter! Waiter, 2 more, please.
I know this is no way to face it, Johnny.
It's all right, Jan.
I came out here like everybody does. Every young female kid who's been told she's prettier than the rest. You know, yeah, the movies, Hollywood, glamour, all that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
But it was rough. It was too rough. And I couldn't play the game they seemed to want to play out here. And I was all set to go back to the farm country and settle down to the same dull. But then I met Bert. Instead of giving me just a lot of fast talk, he said he wanted to help me. He did, Johnny, he really did. Took me into his office here in San Diego. And we made this office, Johnny, we did. And he still didn't try to make any advances, because he knew I wouldn't want that. But what he didn't know was that I loved him for it. That I loved him. Now he's gone.
Hey, look, Jan, there's nothing we can do about it. Except try to finish the job he started on the case that put us here drinking too much and trying not to think of him and thinking of nothing else but him. Oh, thanks, buddy. Here, keep the change.
Johnny,
Yeah?
you're like Bert. You're straight. I'm glad.
Easy, gal.
Maybe you didn't know him as well as I did. But you cared about him enough to do this, and
Jan, take it easy. Listen, Jan.
Yes?
Grab your coat, I'm taking you home.
I'm all right. Really, I am.
You've got a double job to do tomorrow, his as well as yours.
How can you talk?
I know. I'm out here. I'm out here to knock off the Jolly Roger, make sure the payment of the claim is okay. At least that's why I came out here.
Then how...
Now I've also got to find out who... Well...
Bert.
Yeah. And I'm going to need your help.
All right, Johnny.
Come on, Jan, grab your coat. I took her home to her little apartment on East Drive. I didn't go up for the usual nightcap because I didn't want to. And I knew Jan didn't want me to. I dropped into police headquarters, homicide first, and then traffic detail to see if they'd been able to dig up anything on the hit-run driver who'd killed Bert. Nothing. Apparently, the threat he'd received just before the so-called accident was something that only he and Jan had known about. The expense account? Oh, I don't know. Call it $10. A couple of cabs, a couple of drinks, or maybe 6 or 8, or... I'm kind of tired tonight. Bert was a nice guy. Jan's a nice girl. In the morning, I'll call the hotel in La Jolla and delay my reservation there another day. Meantime, I'll get some sleep, I guess. Maybe I'll even cook me up a dream or two about skin diving and sunning on the rocks at La Jolla after all this whole rotten case is cleared up. Get myself a good winter tan to take the place of this high eastern pallor I've been trying to get... Oh. Hello. Hello.
Johnny.
Hello?
Johnny, listen.
Hello, I can't... Jan?
Yes, Johnny. Listen to me.
Yeah.
We must have been followed tonight.
Huh? Jan?
I got a phone call just a minute ago.
Yeah?
A man. He threatened me.
What do you mean he threatened you? How? Who was it?
I don't know. He said, if I help you,
Yeah?
there'll be another accident. To me.
Jan.
And to you. And to you.
Listen, Jan.
Oh, Johnny, I'm afraid.
Johnny Dollar.
Johnny, this is Jan.
Yes, Jan.
A minute ago, after you left me here at my apartment, I got a phone call.
Yeah?
A threat. If I help you on this case, there'll be another accident.
Huh?
Like the one that happened to Bert. Fatal. To me.
Jan.
To you. Oh, Johnny, I'm afraid.
Stay right where you are. I'm on my way over. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. To the Universal Adjustment Bureau, attention Patrick McCracken. Pat, I'm addressing this to you instead of to the Southwestern Maritime Insurance and Liability because Southwestern's sole representative here in San Diego, California, Bert Parker, died yesterday in the hospital, presumably of an accident. But I don't believe it. I think it's because he knew too much about this case. The Jolly Roger fraud. Item 6270, cab fare and tip from my hotel to the little apartment of Jan Penny, who had been Bert Parker's secretary before he was killed.
Who is it?
Johnny Dollar, you all right?
Come in, Johnny, quick. Oh, I'm scared.
Easy now. Who was it threatened you over the phone? Did you recognize the voice?
Yes.
Well, who was it?
I don't know.
Huh?
It was the same voice that called Bert at the office and warned him before he was run down by that car and killed.
But you don't know who it was?
No. Oh, Johnny, I'm so scared. Please hold me.
All right.
No, I don't mean that. It sounds like I'm trying to...
It's okay, Jan. It's okay. Just take it easy. Here we are. Come on. Sit down. Here, have a cigarette.
I'm sorry, Johnny. I guess it's just been too much for a gal.
Yeah, sure. I don't doubt it. I thought when I bought you a few drinks tonight, you'd be able to come back here and sleep and forget what's happened. Forget about Bert being killed.
It's because he held up the claim on the Jolly Roger. Because he sent for you. That's why they're threatening you, too. Oh, Johnny, be careful.
And you have no idea who they is?
Of course I do. The same idea you have. The man who owned the Jolly Roger before she burned and sank. Paulus Zanagian.
Just how much do you know about Zanagian?
Only what Bert told me. He was an international crook, gun runner, spy, shipping magnate, international troublemaker.
Yeah, and just about as welcome in any decent country of this world as the plague.
Bert didn't want to insure the Jolly Roger.
Certainly an appropriate name, all right. If ever there was an international pirate. Well, go on, Jen.
Bert didn't want to insure it. $460,000, wooden hull and all, but he had to. Southwestern is a small company, Johnny, and the premium, 2 years premium in advance, was too much to turn down.
So that was the clincher.
Yes. Bert needed it so much.
But then it burned and sank.
Yes. When they submitted the claim, Zanagian himself.
Oh?
Yes, Johnny. It was Paulus Zanagian himself who bought the policy, and he made the claim. Demanded immediate payment. But when Bert decided to hold up until you could come out here and investigate it.
The warnings and the so-called accident that killed him.
Yes. Now they're warning me. You. Oh, Johnny, why don't you give this up?
Where's Zanagian now?
Here in San Diego at the Larchmont.
And you're sure it wasn't he who called you tonight, who called Bert and warned him?
I'm sure. I would have known his voice, his accent. But, Johnny, I'm frightened.
All right, now look. Go on in there into your bedroom and sleep.
No.
Take
no.
a sleeping pill, whatever you like, but get some sleep. Look, there's nothing we can do tonight, and there'll be plenty for us to do tomorrow.
But after that phone call,
I'll stay right here on the sofa. Now, look, I've got this. Have you any kind of a gun?
No, Johnny.
Well, now go on in there, lock your windows, close the drapes, and get some sleep. That's orders.
All right. Good night, Johnny.
I hope Jan slept better than I did. Expense account item 7, 90 cents. Taxi to police headquarters, first thing in the morning. I spent a solid hour talking with Detective Sergeant Joe Franklin. Yes, they were working on the hit-run death of Bert Parker. No, they hadn't come up with any leads. All he knew was that Bert had left his office late, was shortcutting his way through an alley to where his car was parked, had been knocked down when he reached the end of the alley. No witness, no tar marks, nothing. They'd questioned Jan Penny about possible enemies and come up with the same answers I did, but no evidence. Item 8, taxi to the Larchmont, where the desk clerk announced my arrival to the penthouse suite.
Come in, sir. I've been waiting for you to call on me.
Mr. Zanagian?
Terribly distressing news about your colleague, Mr. Parker. I feel... Oh, sit down, won't you?
Thanks.
Tell me, sir, have the police found any clue as to who ran down and killed the poor man?
Oh, you know that he died last night?
Oh, yes, of course, within a few minutes of when it happened. But was Sergeant Franklin able to give you no inkling of who might have done it? Oh, do not look surprised, my boy. I not only know of your visit to police headquarters this morning, but of everything else you have done since your arrival here in San Diego.
Well, that's very interesting, Mr. Zanagian.
Yes, isn't it? But I'm sure the reason for it is very obvious.
Is it?
Of course, my friend, of course. I am depending on you to see that prompt payment of my insurance on the Jolly Roger is made. After all, that is the only reason for your being sent here.
Who told you
Therefore, I feel it my obligation to see that nothing happens to you, that you are given, shall we say, adequate protection during the time you are here acting in my behalf.
Mr. Zanagian, before you
That
go
is
any...
why I have made a trusted man responsible for watching over you at all times during your stay.
Uh-huh. I suppose that's just a polite way of saying that you've had somebody tailing me since I got here.
Oh, by the way, a lovely girl, Miss Penny, isn't she? And she was so devoted to Mr. Parker. Terrible shock to her, his death. Your solicitude to her is to be highly commended.
You really keep tabs on things, don't you?
But now, let us get down to the business at hand.
Yeah, let's.
The loss of the Jolly Roger came at a most inopportune moment. My crew were testing some new equipment in preparation for a somewhat lengthy trip abroad. When the accident occurred, they sent her to the bottom out near the Coronado Islands.
Just what kind of an accident was it?
What? Oh, forgive me, dear man. I forget you have not yet contacted the Coast Guard for the details of the whole affair.
That's right, but how did
But
you...
I am certain you will. So why should I bore you with information you will only have to hear all over again from them? Suffice it to say, dear sir, that the loss of my beautiful yacht was due to some mechanical failure, so to speak. Something with the electrical system, I believe it was. Yes, I do. But my point to you is simply that I must have settlement of my claim without delay, so that I can leave the United States as soon as possible.
For where? Do you mind?
Oh, no. Of course I don't mind. But why bore you with my personal affairs? So urgent is my need for immediate settlement that I can only remind you that I am a most generous person. Which is to say, I can assure you of ample reward for anything you may do to expedite payment to me of the
Now, just hold on a minute.
I'm sorry, my dear sir. Oh, dear me, I'm sorry. I've seemed to monopolize the conversation, haven't I?
Mr. Zanagian, let's stop beating around the bush. An insurance claim for $460,000 is investigated in any event. Bert Parker seemed to think there was something wrong with this claim. He said so, and apparently it cost him his life. The same threats that were made to him have been passed on to his secretary, Jan Penny, and to me. And if that doesn't make the whole case smell to high heaven...
my dear
All
sir.
right, now. Now you're trying to bribe me to make a quick settlement. So, mister, if I weren't suspicious of the whole thing before, you can believe me, I am now.
Oh, my dear
Why
man.
anyone with your reputation for millions should be in such a hurry to get his hands on a few $100,000, I don't know. But if I were you, I'd sit back very quietly and prepare for a long wait to see if you get it at all.
Oh, how unfortunate this attitude for you.
That a threat?
No, dear boy, not at all. I am simply thinking of how much easier it could be for you. And, of course, profitable. Perhaps you will change your mind.
Not a chance.
Then, sir, since settlement of my claim seems to rest entirely on your shoulders at the moment, and since someone, I can't imagine who, has seen fit to threaten you, and please, don't forget that, dear boy.
Mr. Zanagian.
Yes?
I don't scare easy. It was pretty obvious that Paula Zanagian was used to having his own way, would stop at nothing to get it. Bert Parker had been right. I'd have to watch my step. I checked with Jan, then grabbed a taxi to pay a visit to the Coast Guard. Lieutenant John Smith, believe it or not.
You can take your choice, Dollar. Read the report on the burning and sinking of the Jolly Roger here, or the copy I let Bert Parker have. I take it you talked to him.
Parker's dead.
What?
Yeah, hit and run, after he received a couple of threats to lay off this case.
You locked up Zanagian yet?
On what charges?
Well, who else?
That's a lot to go on.
If he didn't sink that boat himself, I'm a wall-eyed monkey.
You find out anything to back that up?
Oh, not a thing. The Jolly Roger sank in about as bad a spot out there as could have been picked. It's deep, bad current, dirty water from onshore silt. We tried to send on divers, got nowhere.
Hey, wait. I thought she went down in Mexican waters off the Coronados.
Yeah, she did, but we supplied the divers, or tried to. International cooperation, that sort of stuff. But we got nowhere.
How'd you find out about it in the first place?
One of our planes on routine patrol saw the puff from the explosion out over the water. By the time it actually got there, the hull was nothing but a mass of flames. Sank 10, 15 minutes later.
What about the crew?
The crew were lost, except for one kid, a cabin boy.
Yeah, where's he?
Mexican fishing boat out of Rosarito picked him up. He was in bad shape. The explosion had blown him clear. He's in the hospital in Tijuana.
Well, look, wait, hasn't anybody talked to him?
He was too badly hurt at first. But I spoke with the hospital just before you got here, and they think he might be able to talk by sometime this afternoon.
Well, what are we waiting for? Come on, let's get down there.
And I can't until later. Look, have you got a car?
No.
You want mine?
Well, sure, let's go. How far is it?
Even within the speed limit, you can make it in a half hour. Out this way. The
All right.
car's out in the lot in the back.
Hey, look, you're mighty generous, Smith. I'll try to make this up to you somehow.
Forget it. I'd like to see you get the goods on Zanagian just as much as you would. I didn't like having him come into port here in the first place. And then when I learned that both Holland and Switzerland had tied up all of his funds...
Say what?
Sure. In early last week's papers. That's why he needs the money. Here's my car. And if you can learn anything down there, if I can be of any help, I'm on pretty good terms with it. Hey, Dollar.
Oh, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, about that.
My car and excellent chauffeur Ortiz here would have got you to Tijuana much more rapidly and comfortably than you might drive, I am
Hey,
sure.
now, wait just a minute. What
Which
made
is
you
why
think
I came to meet you here. I knew you'd want to talk with the cabin boy who survived the accident to my ill-fated Jolly Roger.
Oh, you did?
Yes. However, I fear it is too late.
What do you mean?
As I was leaving my hotel, I heard from one of my, shall we say, associates. He informed me that he had just learned from one of his, shall we say, contacts in Tijuana.
Well?
Alas, the poor cabin boy died only a few minutes ago. Pity, sir, isn't it?
Johnny Dollar.
I have your call to the Corazon de Los Angeles Hospital in Tijuana, Mexico.
Good, operator.
One moment.
Hello?
Oh, this is Dr. Fernando Hernandez.
I'm Johnny Dollar, investigating the wreck of the yacht, the Jolly Roger. The only survivor reported was a cabin boy, and I understand he just died in your hospital.
Yes, but under most unusual circumstances, Senor Dollar.
That's exactly what I wanted to know.
Also, Senor, there are some things he told me earlier that I think you ought to know.
Doctor, I'm on my way down there to Tijuana to see you. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. Location, San Diego, California. To the Universal Adjustment Bureau, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, the Jolly Roger fraud. $460,000 worth of palatial yacht gone down to Davy Jones's locker. Expense account item 9, 40 cents, telephone call. To the hospital in Tijuana from a phone booth at Coast Guard headquarters here in San Diego. Because of the knack Paula Zanagian seemed to have for knowing everything I did, everyone I talked to, even on the telephone, I was afraid to let my call go through even the Coast Guard switchboard. But before leaving for Tijuana, I checked with Jan Penny and talked briefly again with Lieutenant Smith.
You mean you think Zanagian had somebody put that cabin boy out of the way before you could talk with him, Dollar?
The doctor only said that he died under unusual circumstances. But yes, that's exactly what I think. What's more important right now is that apparently the lad told the doctor a thing or two before he died. So I'm going on down there.
You want to use my car?
Well, Zanagian seemed to know I was going to use it before. He'll probably expect me to use it now. So you better get me a rental car. Have it delivered to my hotel service entrance under your name.
Okay.
Zanagian made no bones about it when I talked to him. He's having me tailed. And he'll probably try to do the same thing to me that he did to Bert Parker, once he's sure I'm trying to block his $460,000 claim.
Dollar.
But me, I aim to stay alive. Until I can not only prove his claim of fraud, but see him sent up for murdering Parker and the lads who went down with the Jolly Roger.
Dollar, why don't you get the police in on this with you? If your life's in danger...
I want to do it alone. Hey, one more thing.
Yeah?
You're sure that Zanagian needed money? I thought from all I've ever heard that international racketeer was loaded.
According to the papers, both Holland and Switzerland locked up his bank accounts just within the last week or so. That's why he needs a pot full of cash to get over there. That's why he sank his ship, so he could collect from your insurance company.
Accident. Some mechanical failure.
Is that what he said?
Uh-huh. Something to do with the electrical system, to use his own words.
But if the cabin boy was the only survivor of the explosion, and he didn't talk to anybody...
Except this Dr. Hernandez I'm going to see.
Right, then how could Zanagian know what made his yacht burn and sink?
What's your guess? Expense account item 10, $50, deposit on rental car. On the way back to the hotel to pick it up, I kept looking for somebody that I could identify as the tail Zanagian had put on me. But if he was there, I couldn't tag him. And as I drove the few short miles from San Diego to Tijuana, I began to wonder if maybe I was just too small fry for Paula Zanagian, shipping magnate, munition maker, international spy to bother with. Nonetheless, I still kept an eye out for a familiar face, or more to the point, for a familiar car that might be following me. Midday traffic on the big broad highway was astonishingly sparse. A handful of tourist-type cars loaded with families on the way across the border for a quick look-see at Mexico. A handful of movers who were on their way to see how far and how long their American dollars would keep them in favorably exchanged Mexican pesos. Some smart Cadillacs, some of them towing outboard runabouts and filled with eager-eyed fishermen. And the usual run of trucks, big trucks and trailers. The boys who made a living behind the wheel, the best drivers on the road, wherever they were, loaded with goods for transport between states or countries or what have you. I drove fast, I drove slowly, and I still didn't see any car that might have been following me. To make sure, I took off on a gravel side road, drove a mile or more, and waited. Nobody followed me. So I finally gave up and went back to the main highway. At the border, I asked the guards where the Corazon de los Angeles hospital was, drove the car to it, parked in back, and asked the first nurse I could find, and I should have stopped right there because she was beautiful, asked her where Dr. Hernandez hung out. Hernandez spoiled a beautiful romance in the budding and led me into his office.
Please do sit down, Senor Dollar.
Thanks, Dr. Hernandez.
I'm so glad you've come. We here at the hospital, I must confess, were somewhat concerned when the fishermen brought in the poor young cabin boy who survived the wreck of the... what was his name? The Jolly Roger.
Yeah, that's right. Zanagian couldn't have picked a better one.
So?
Jolly Roger's the name of the flag that pirate ships used to fly, skull and crossbones. I suppose you know.
See, I know. He was a glorified pirate preying on the whole world. I'm a student of history, senor, modern as well as ancient. In his small, selfish way, I realize that Paula Zanagian has looted the whole world. A dangerous man.
You say you were worried when his cabin boy showed up.
Because there was a man who called and wished to visit him. Insisted on it.
Oh?
See, but... of course, because of his condition, we could not permit it. The explosion of the ship had done a great deal of damage to his small body. When he was brought in here, I could see that immediate surgery was necessary to save his life.
Well, go on, Doctor.
So I operated. And as I did so, realized that divine providence would permit me to save the life of this poor unfortunate. My operation was a success.
But you told me over the phone that he died.
We are a poor hospital, and usually we're not able to provide such things. But I appointed a special nurse to look after
Doctor,
him
I'm
while
sorry.
I ordered that man who would not give his name but who insisted on seeing him be kept away.
Doctor, you said...
However, 2 hours ago, the nurse left him only for a brief moment and only to inform me of the remarkable improvement he'd made.
Look,
and
Doctor...
when I entered his room, he was dead.
Look, Doctor, I'm sorry if you lost your patient, of course, but you told me over the phone that there was something unusual about his death. That's why I came down here.
He would have lived. He would have lived, Senor Zola.
Yes, I know.
Except that someone got into the room with him during the brief moment he was left alone. Got into him and killed him with this.
What is it? A knitting needle?
I think so. He would have been well again, Senor, but he was killed. Murdered.
Have you told the police about this?
See, and they are what you call at a loss.
Oh, brother. Well, how do you think I feel?
I was going to tell them what I knew about the unfortunate boy when your telephone call came. Then I decided perhaps I'd best talk to you first.
Well, just what is it you know about him?
It is what he knew about the sinking of the boat.
The Jolly Roger.
See. Thanks to adrenaline and other stimulants I administered even before we began the anesthetic for the operation that saved his life.
Only it didn't stay so long.
See. He regained consciousness long enough to talk with me. He talked a great deal.
Well? Well, Doctor, what did he tell you?
My notes. I kept very careful notes in this drawer. And
Well, what is it, Doctor? What's the matter?
the notes I had, they're gone.
Gone?
Here. I kept them here because I knew they'd help to solve the crime of the sinking of the ship.
Well, what did this boy tell you? Notes or no notes, Doctor? You must remember something of what he told you.
Well, see, yes.
Well, what?
That he'd seen a strange device taken aboard the ship. He was young and curious, as all boys are.
Yeah?
That only the captain of the vessel had handled it, had taken it to the engine room. That he had inquired about it and been told to mind his own affairs.
Well, what kind of a device was it? Did he tell you?
Like a clock, he said. A
Huh?
clock on a large box, like an alarm clock. It was set for 2:35.
He hold everything. That was the time the Coast Guard patrol plane saw the explosion.
I knew that.
All right, go on, Doctor.
That, Senor Dollar, is all.
Well, I don't know about you, but it sounds to me like Zanegian or one of his men or both planted a time bomb in the engine room of that yacht.
See?
No. Now, wait a minute.
Yes?
If the captain knew about it... Hey, look, Doctor, the U.S. Coast Guard reported that the only survivor was this cabin boy. Now, surely the captain wouldn't have let himself get blown up.
Oh, no, he would not, except for one thing.
Yeah?
And I tell you only what I know from the cabin boy.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
This trip was a test. Before the ship, the yacht, was to go on a long trip. It had many new devices on it.
Uh-huh.
A large, tall mast for what you call a radar.
Yeah, go on.
The captain, when they reached a point of the Coronado Islands, ordered a small boat put, over the sand.
Yeah, that's right, go on.
But in doing so, the radar mast, fell down, and the captain was struck by it. Therefore...
Doctor, now listen carefully. Tell no one you've talked to me. Tell your local police, if you like, what you learned from the cabin boy. Report it to your Coast Guard or whatever you have to do down here in Mexico. But don't, under any circumstances, let anyone know you've talked to me.
I do not understand, senor.
You wonder where your notes on the cabin boy are? Well, if you ask me, Zanegian is looking them over right now.
Impossible.
Nothing is impossible with a guy like him. Now, what I'm getting at is this. I'm a marked man, Doctor. He's after me, and he'll be after anybody who tries to help me.
Cannot believe.
Well, you'd better, if you want to stay in one piece, so take no chances. I don't think I was followed down here, but I may have been. If so, your life is in danger, same as mine. So please, watch your step, until I can pin whatever it takes on Zanegian to send him up for life.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, sure it is. But outside of you and a girl named Jan Penny and... Doctor, may I use that phone of yours for a call across the border?
Well, of course. Here.
Thanks. Hello? Hello, operator. I want to call Coast Guard headquarters in San Diego, California. Lieutenant John Smith. You know something? Your Mexican operators speak as good English. Hello? Yes, thank you.
You seem alarmed, Senor Dollar. Are you
Doc,
sure?
I just hope you find no cause for alarm before this mess is over. But I say it again. Watch your step. The mere fact that you've talked with me... Hello? Oh, where can I reach him? Well, sure, I'll talk to anybody there at headquarters. Hello, I'm calling Lieutenant John... I see. Thanks.
What is it, Mr. Dollar?
Lieutenant Smith is dead.
What?
A hit-and-run accident. About an hour after I left him. Watch your step, Doctor.
See. And you too, Senor Dollar.
Johnny Dollar.
Sergeant Franklin, San Diego Police Homicide.
Oh, thanks for returning my call.
What are you doing in Tijuana?
Following a lead on the sinking of the Jolly Roger, what else?
I still think that yacht was sunk by her owner, Paula Zanagian.
You're not alone, Sergeant. Listen.
Yeah?
Bert Parker of the insurance company was suspicious. He held up the claim, so he was killed. Hit and run.
I know.
Lieutenant Smith of the Coast Guard was helping me with the case. Now he's been killed, also hit and run.
We know. We're working on it.
Jan Penny, who was Parker's secretary, is helping me too. Get it?
I get it. I'll assign a man to protect her immediately.
Good.
But, Dollar...
Yeah?
What about you?
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. Location, San Diego, California. To Universal Adjustment Bureau, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, the Jolly Roger fraud. The sinking of a palatial yacht of that name and a couple of murders connected therewith. I thought I was going to Southern California for a vacation. You know, a couple of easy weeks at La Jolla, sitting around in the sun, doing a bit of skin diving. Maybe even some personal investigation to see if the publicity pictures of the contents of some of those bikini bathing suits were really true. But I ran headlong into what looks like a very, very fraudulent insurance claim. $460,000 worth. Claimed by an international troublemaker named Paulus Zanagian for the loss of his yacht, the Jolly Roger. Only the crew were aboard when it headed out toward the Coronado Islands on a test run. A tryout for a lot of new radar equipment. After a big explosion that caused the Jolly Roger to burn and sink, only one man came back. I told what I knew about him to Sergeant Franklin at San Diego Police Headquarters.
And then the poor lad died there in the hospital in Tijuana, huh?
Yeah, but not until he told the senior medico a couple of things that make me surer than ever that the owner, this Paula Zanagian, planned the explosion and sinking. Evidently, Sergeant, the captain took a time bomb on board.
And let himself get blown up with a yacht? Now, look, Dollar.
No, not that easy. He'd have been able to get off before the time bomb exploded. If he hadn't been hit over the head by a falling radar mast.
Oh, I see. But what I don't see is why Zanagian had his ship blown up in the first place.
Well, if you've read the papers, you know that the Swiss and Dutch governments have put all of Zanagian's funds under lock and key.
Oh?
Yeah. In spite of the millions Zanagian has made off his international arms smuggling rackets, his fomenting of revolutions among the smaller countries, he suddenly found himself without enough money to get over there and do whatever is necessary to free his money.
Somebody finally caught up with this international racketeer.
That's right. His credit, of course, isn't any good anywhere. Big yacht, sure. But he didn't have enough money to pay his way back to Europe. Unless he could collect for the loss of the Jolly Roger.
And when Bert Parker tried to stall on settling the claim...
Parker didn't last long. Then I came into the picture. I talked to Zanagian.
Yeah?
He told me if I didn't see that his claim was settled immediately, well, he casually mentioned Bert Parker's sudden demise.
Dollar, I wonder if there isn't some technicality on which we can hold that guy.
Jan Penny, who was Parker's secretary.
Yeah?
Jan has been helping me on the case. Result, a warning threatening both her and me. And you know what happened to Lieutenant Smith as a result of his giving me a hand. Have you got somebody keeping an eye on Jan?
I'll get Tommy Golden, one of the best men on the force.
Good.
And he's smart enough to keep her from knowing he's watching over her.
Fine. Things have happened so fast since I got here that I haven't had time to check thoroughly with her on the background of the whole case.
Well, it really shouldn't be too disagreeable a job, Dollar.
Huh?
I've seen her. What's your next step?
Well, first, what progress have you made in finding out who ran down Lieutenant Smith?
Same story we got when your friend Bert Parker was run down and killed.
Yeah?
The few witnesses just weren't on the ball. In each case, it was a black Buick sedan, 54 or 55. Nobody saw a license plate.
You mean there was none on the car?
Apparently not. Traffic division's going to have something to answer for.
Unless the license plates were hidden just during the time of the... Well, murders is probably the right word.
Possible, probable.
So forgive your traffic detail.
Needless to say, we're checking every public garage in town and every car in the streets, but beyond that... Dollar, we're just as sure as you are that Zanagian himself is behind all this. He's not only a man, he's an international organization.
Oh, brother, don't tell me. For all I know, you're one of his boys.
Oh, now, wait a minute.
He's known every move I've made since I got here, almost before I've made it. When he met me outside Coast Guard headquarters and tried to stop me from going down to Tijuana, I thought, heaven help me, that maybe Lieutenant Smith was one of his boys, until Smith was killed. He's had somebody on my tail every minute since I hit this town of yours. I'm sure of it. But I can't spot him.
Dollar.
Yeah?
We feel the same way about Zanagian that you do. We know that wherever he goes, he has, well, it sounds corny, but call them henchmen hanging around with him. Maybe it's just one or two, or maybe it's a dozen. And we've tried to spot him, but no luck. Certainly none of the crew of the Jolly Roger were among them, or he wouldn't have let them get blown up. Or maybe he doesn't have any little helpers. Maybe he does everything himself.
You know, it's funny you should say that. It was he himself who took out the policy on the Jolly Roger. It was he who personally made the claim. It was he who drove his car around to meet me at Coast Guard headquarters. As a matter of fact, it was... that's impossible.
Can you tell me why?
Oh, because he alone couldn't have known about my coming out here, my every movement. He'd be crazy to drive the hit-and-run cars that killed Parker and Smith. And after all, there were a couple of husky characters standing around quietly in the corners of his penthouse suite when I called on him.
One of them 6'2", black hair, and a scar from his right ear nearly to his chin?
Yeah.
He's been watched every minute he's been out of Zanagian's hotel room ever since they got here. A short, heavy-set, wormy little man?
That's right.
Him, too. We got nothing on him. Except that we know they're working for Zanagian. What's your next move, Dollar?
Oh, if I had any sense, I'd do what I came out here to do. Have myself a vacation over in La Jolla. Forget this whole thing. Let the insurance company pay the claim on the Jolly Roger. Let Zanagian get out of the country and forget it.
You'd be able to forget the threats on your own life, Dollar?
Yeah, and I'd be able to... Hey, wait a minute. What about Jan Penny?
I told you I'll have a man looking after her.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess the best thing I can do is take her over to Bert Parker's office, have her open the files, and see if I can find something there to get to work on.
Incidentally, Dollar, she drives a black Buick.
I hate to say it, Sergeant. Have you checked it out? I probably shouldn't have thought what I thought about Jan when I asked that question. I was sorry I had when I reached her apartment a few minutes later.
Who is it?
Johnny Dollar.
Johnny, I'm so glad. I was worried about you.
Has something happened,
I
Jan?
was worried about you, that's all. When you told me you were going down to Tijuana alone, well, I was worried about you.
Oh, thanks. Hey, look, Jan, let's get down to business. Did you go down to the office this morning?
Yes, I took a cab down there right after breakfast and spent the entire day.
Uh-huh. Were the files on Zanagian's policy on the Jolly Roger intact?
Well, yes, why do you ask that?
And nobody bothered you there?
No, except,
Except what?
Johnny, it's the reason I'm so glad you're here.
What is?
All day I've had the feeling I'm being followed.
Well, maybe you are.
Because of the warning over the phone, the one I told you about.
And you still don't know who it was?
No, but Johnny, the warning was for you, too. If you don't lay off this case.
Is that the way the voice on the phone put it?
Yes, and it threatened me if I helped you.
Look, Jan, you want to back out while you're still in one piece? You know what happened to Bert Parker when he tried to buck Paulus as an agent?
I loved Bert, Johnny. He was the kind of man you are. Honest and good and... Oh, Johnny, why don't you get out of this case? Pay him off, anything. But don't risk your life on it, too.
You really mean that, don't you?
Oh, you're fine, and... Don't you see this madman Zanagian will stop at nothing to hurt the people who oppose him. And if you keep on...
Even if it means forgetting about finding out who killed Bert Parker?
Yes, Johnny, yes. If it means putting your own life in danger, settle his claim, anything.
How about you?
I'll go away. I'll go somewhere else, and... Try to forget the whole thing. Oh, Johnny, listen to me.
I'm listening.
It isn't worth it to take the risk you're taking.
Jan, it's my job. Look, why should you worry about me?
Because even if I have only known you a few days, I don't know, maybe it's rebound. Maybe I'm acting like a baby, but since Bert was... Oh, Johnny, I'm so alone and I'm so lonely.
Jan was a very pretty girl. Soft, warm, lovely. We had a drink or two and talked about a lot of things. The kind of things I'd planned to talk about to some charming girl on the vacation I'd planned but wasn't having here in Southern California. I might even have forgotten about cleaning up the case and going on to La Jolla.
Why don't you make the company pay them off, Johnny? Forget it. So you and I won't be in danger from this man.
Suspicion. Why can't a guy relax and enjoy a situation like... Jan, come on, honey. Let go, will you? I gotta get out of here. Look, I've got a hunch, and in this crazy business of mine, when you get a hunch, you better act on it.
Oh, no, Johnny, tomorrow.
Oh, no, honey, look, I'm going down to police headquarters.
Johnny.
The one thing I haven't checked on, the one person who was connected with Bert Parker.
But police headquarters this time of night, I don't know.
Jim Franklin. He said he'd be there all night.
Can't you check
Sorry,
on...
Jan.
Leave me here all alone?
You come with me. We'll grab a cab and go down there together.
Oh, all right. Then we'll come back here?
Depends on what I find out.
Then I'll wait for you. Only why don't you take my car? It's right down in the parking place just outside the building.
Okay, sure.
Here, I'll get you the keys.
How'll I know which one is yours?
It's an old black Buick in parking space 5 down there. Just had a new paint job. You can't mistake it. Here.
Okay, thanks. Jan, didn't you say something about taking a cab down to the office this morning?
Because of the fresh paint in my car. It was so foggy this morning. I wanted it looking nice in case you wanted to use it.
Ah, you're a rascal. See you later. I kissed Jan goodbye for the time being and left. I hadn't the least idea in the world of contacting Sergeant Franklin at that time of night. But I had to think this thing out. Suspicions, pure and simple, about a lot of things that might explain how Zanagian had known my every move since I arrived in San Diego. Yeah, that was it. Get out on the road in the fresh air alone and think a bit. The black Buick was parked in the lot in Space 5, all shiny in its new coat of paint. Yeah, new paint. That might cover up any marks a hit-and-run killer made. I was about to close the door, turn the switch, and take off when I noticed that somebody, the car painter perhaps, had left the hood open. I stepped around to the front of the car to slam it down when my guardian angel, or whatever it is, told me to take a good look inside. I'm glad I did. Glad I'd noticed the hood partly open. That I hadn't turned on the key. Because wired to the ignition was a bomb that would have blown me to kingdom come.
Hello?
Johnny Dollar.
Johnny?
You sound surprised, Jan.
Well, yes, I am, dear. I thought you were going over to police headquarters.
I changed my mind.
Then you didn't need my car after all.
No.
Are you coming back here to my apartment? Johnny?
After I take a little walk. As I told you, I've got to think this case out, and I can't very well do it wrapped up in your arms. Oh, can I?
Why don't you take a drive along the shoreline in my car?
Want to come along? Jan?
I'll wait for you here.
Yeah. See you in a little while. Much sooner than you think, baby. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar, location San Diego, California. To Universal Adjusters Bureau, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, the Jolly Roger fraud, including the loss of a palatial yacht and a couple of murders. Expense account item 12, phone call. And one thing I didn't tell Jan Penny was that I was calling her from a booth right on the ground floor of her own apartment building. Another was the reason I changed my mind about borrowing her car to drive to headquarters for a talk with Sergeant Franklin. Oh, I had gone out to the parking lot and climbed into her car, all right. But as I was about to insert the key to start it, I noticed the hood wasn't closed down tight. That saved my life. For wired to the ignition, I found a booby trap that would have blown me to kingdom come if I'd even turned the key. After hanging up on Jan, I hopped upstairs to her apartment and pressed an ear against the door.
No, he didn't. Because he just phoned me from somewhere outside. But he said he's coming back here, and I tell you, you'd better come over here. No, he just said he's going for a walk. Of course I can handle. All right.
I went back to the first floor to the phone booth and called Sergeant Franklin.
You think Jan Penny's in with Zanagian on this whole deal?
Tell you this, I don't like what I think. Look, Sergeant, I'm going back upstairs to talk to her again.
Talk, did you say?
Yes, talk. I'm going to lay it all out to her, tell her what I suspect and why. If I can break her down, okay. If I can't, well, I misjudged her.
Lucky stiff.
Huh?
I've seen her, Johnny boy.
What's that supposed to mean?
I hope you have misjudged her for your sake.
What?
Reconciliation. What a lovely way to spend the rest of the evening.
Look, you dope.
Go to it, boy. And happy hunting.
Who is it? Johnny?
Yeah.
My, that was a short walk. But I'm glad.
Are you? Or are you sorry I didn't stay away longer so you could get some help?
Help?
Sit down. Sit down, Jan. I want to talk to you.
Oh, how masterful. Here?
As you know, I didn't borrow your car after all.
Sit next to me, darling, and let's continue from where we left
Because
off.
fortunately, somebody goofed left the hood partly open.
Closer, Johnny.
That's why I discovered the booby trap that would have gone off as I turned the ignition key.
Closer, Johnny. Booby. What are you talking about?
That's why you didn't hear the expected explosion right after I left you.
Oh, no. Then they are after me, too. The warning over the phone. If I didn't stop helping you in this case, they... Oh, Johnny, what'll I do? Johnny.
For one thing, take your arms back to yourself and move over to your own corner of this couch so I can pull a gun if any of your pals suddenly...
Ah, my dear Mr. Dollar.
Zanagian.
I fear it's too late. Artis here will pull the trigger if you so much as move a hand toward your gun. He's an excellent shot.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Awkward coming in the service entrance, but I was concerned lest your phone call in the lobby might have been to the police. Here now, permit me to take charge of your gun.
Just a minute, Zanagian.
I should. Yeah, thank you. Oh, yes, this is Artis, the man I've had following you since your arrival here in San Diego. You don't recognize him, dear boy?
Yeah, I keep him from seeing me. You never know I follow him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Artis, you've been pretty good at it. But as long as we've been introduced now, why don't we shake hands?
Go back, or I shoot. Oh, and he would, my boy. And I believe you call it a silencer, would obviate any undue noise.
Wouldn't you be happier if he did pull the trigger, Zanagian?
But I wish to talk with you, dear Mr. Dollar.
I don't think we have anything to talk about.
Oh, but we have. You see, dear boy, I'm curious to know why you suspected Jan here of complicity in our little plan. Lovely girl, isn't she?
Pretty obvious, isn't it? Now?
Oh, forgive me. I realize in a situation like this, it is usually the detective, or in this case, the insurance investigator, who at the point of a gun extracts a confession from the, shall we say, criminal. However...
Okay, I'll tell you. Apart from the threatening phone calls, which nobody but Jan seemed to know about.
Terrible story for her to make up.
You warned me in the beginning you'd have somebody tailing me while I was here in San Diego to make sure I didn't spoil your plan to collect some $460,000 insurance on that yacht you burned and sank out near the Coronados.
Quite right. But I must ask you to be brief in case that phone call you made was to the police. You see, with only Artis and Jan left of my staff and crew, I can't very well afford to...
Sure, that call was to the police. That's why I'm trying to stall you with a lot of talk.
Thank you. For if that were true, dear boy, you would never admit it. But do continue.
All right. I've been followed before. I know, or at least I hope I do, every trick in the book for dodging a tail.
Too good.
Artis, you shouldn't admit he got away from you.
Yeah, too good. But now I make him sorry.
Artis, please. I wish to hear more from Mr. Dollar, and I wish to speak to him. As a matter of fact, dear Mr. Dollar, there is really no need for you to continue. You are a very intelligent young man.
Oh, thanks.
You realize that no one but our little Janet could have provided me with all the information I had. You're coming out here to investigate the sinking of the Jolly Roger, your touching deathbed scene with Mr. Parker, your conversations with Lieutenant Smith of the Coast Guard, and, she did dispose of him quite well, didn't she?
Jan?
Who else, Johnny? Who else could have run down Bert Parker without leaving him?
You ought to have your neck.
No.
Artist, please. I wish to talk with Mr. Dollar.
No wonder you insisted I drive your booby-trap car tonight.
Really, darling, I'm glad that you didn't. Because if you'll listen to
Yes,
what
dear boy, listen to me. You are intelligent, as I said before. You even learned why I am in immediate need of funds, so that I may finance a return to Europe and free the money of mine that has been frozen there. Millions, dear boy. And as the lovely Janet will attest, those who work with me share with me.
It's true, Johnny. Regardless of his reputation, when it comes to the people who will work with him,
Like the crew of that yacht and whoever else was working with him. He admitted that only you and this trigger-happy character here were left.
Oh, tools, my dear boy. Quite unlike the intelligent colleagues such as yourself and Janet, whom I wish to keep close to me.
Oh, artist boy, that means you better watch your step.
What do you mean?
Nothing, artist, nothing. My dear Mr. Dollar.
Yeah, I get it. All I do is report that your claim should be paid, and I'm on your team.
And you will never regret it. Not only money, more than you ever dreamed of, but... Janet, my pearl, you do like our Mr. Dollar, do you now?
You dirty rat.
Get right.
You admit you sank the Jolly Roger yourselves, Again.
But of course.
And all the men who went down with it.
What had to be done?
Even the little cabin boy.
Oh, yes, dear boy, yes. Both he and the crew on the Jolly Roger were in danger of upsetting my plans. They had to be eliminated. But you, dear man, please, do not stand in my way. Much as I like and respect you, if you do, you will leave me no choice but to eliminate you. Even as I had to rid myself of Parker, the Lieutenant Smith, the cabin boy.
Look, Again. What if I were to say, okay, I'll go along with you?
Aha.
To say the least, it would get me out of this present pickle I'm in.
And much more.
I still wish that gorilla of yours would aim his gun the other way.
Oh, Arties, I think you might relax a bit for the moment.
But I watch him.
Go on, dear boy.
Okay. What kind of assurance do you think you'd have that I wouldn't double-cross you?
There is the factor of fear.
Fear?
Oh, my dear man, don't you see? The choice is as simple as this, and the choice is yours. You either accept my offer now, or you accept a bullet from Artie's gun. The latter I would regret exceedingly. Not only because of you, I like you, but because it would mean temporary interruption of my plans, a quick trip across the border to avoid being found when your body is discovered, and the necessity of devising some other means for attaining passage to Europe. But far more formidable problems have been overcome many times. Dear Mr. Dollar, I do not wish to have to discuss this further. So tell me...
Zanagian, I have good news.
Yes?
For me, not for you.
You mean you refuse? No, dear boy.
No, I mean you aren't going to have to discuss this any further. You won't be able to.
But, my dear...
Much as I'd like to tie up this case with a big fancy ending, a real dramatic tagline...
I do not understand you,
all of
dear
your
boy.
long-winded confession a minute ago might just as well have been stated in court.
What?
As a matter of fact, you'll probably hear it in court, word for word.
I do not understand.
You and this homely trigger man of yours aren't the only ones who know about the service entrance to this apartment.
Hollis!
What do you mean?
You may as well give up quietly, because the gentleman standing in the doorway directly behind
No!
you is Sergeant Franklin of the San Diego... Oh, no, you don't, Artie. I've been wanting to yours.
No, please! Do not hurt me! Help! Please!
Thanks, Sergeant.
What a mess. Better tie up this gorilla, boys.
Okay. I'm glad you took the hint and came over. You know my call was being listened to.
I kind of thought so. Well, no more Zanagian.
Dead?
Yeah. By a slug from this big monkey's gun.
If I'd known he was that bad a shot, I might have tried to jump him earlier. Come on, Artis. Up.
After the way you hit him, he'll sleep for a long time. Well.
Johnny.
Huh?
Johnny, listen to me.
Oh, shut up. Expense account item 14, $217.50, hotel in San Diego, incidentals and plane fare back to New York and Hartford. Expense account subtotal, $523.23. I'll give you the rest when I finish my vacation in La Jolla, the one you promised me. Remarks? The fabulous crooked empire of Paulus Zanagian is kaput, the same way it happens when every man who tries to break the rules of international law and order. You might almost have called it death by his own hand, though, of course, little Artie will be made to pay for it. Jan, same thing, I guess. Why did they do it? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Now, here's our star to tell you about next week's exciting story.
Next week, vacation, and a beautiful romance that turned out to be a prelude to murder. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. It is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone, who also wrote this week's story. Heard in the cast were Virginia Gregg, Forrest Lewis, Paul Frees, Jay Novello, Harry Bartell, Don Diamond, and Victor Perrin. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Be sure to join us on Monday night, same time and station, for another exciting story of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. This is Roy Rowan speaking. From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
Pat McCracken, Johnny, returning your call.
Oh, hi, Pat.
How's Southern California?
My vacation on expense account, I love it.
Well, don't overdo it. Just because the Jolly Roger matter interfered with that vacation you'd planned is no
Now,
reason.
wait a minute. You promised full expenses.
Okay. When are you coming back to Hartford?
Soon as I clear up the Lamarr case. Want okay expenses on it now?
Huh? Lamarr?
Yeah, Pat. This is a case that'll make your hair curl.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Universal Adjustment Bureau, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Lamarr matter. Expense account? Forget it. I'm on vacation. As far from Hartford, Connecticut, center of the insurance business as I can get. Yeah, I'm in La Jolla, California, and I'm staying in a big ritzy motel called El Crescenta. Alone. Oh, there is a girl down here. A lot of them, in fact. But one in particular. Vonnie Lamarr, her name is. Sounds like somebody in show business, doesn't it? But she isn't. Tall, 5'8", brunette, pretty as the devil. And I gave her the line that my so-called business back east consists of nothing more exciting than running a filling station.
How can you afford to come all the way out here to California for a vacation? To say nothing of staying at the El Crescenta.
Rich uncle, Vonnie. Died and left me a couple of $1,000 to do with as I see fit. This is the way I see fit.
Only a couple of $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, that's too bad. A couple of $100,000, I might really fall for you.
Oh, Vonnie, how can you?
Hmm?
Here I thought these last 3 days and evenings with you were due solely to my overwhelming personal charms.
Your charm has nothing to do with it. Kiss me again, anyhow.
With Vonnie around, who needed a couple of $100,000? Yeah, the gal was just about all anyone could ask for. And I don't mean for just a quick vacation time romance. I'd spotted her the minute I'd landed here at this hotel. more like a guest ranch by the seashore. Beautiful, modern cottages set around a big green lawn with a swimming pool in the center big enough for the Olympics. Carports beside the cottages loaded with Eldorados, Continentals, and a handful of foreign sports jobs. And a beautiful big dining room and a building set up to look like an old clipper ship. And food and service worthy of Oscar of the Waldorf. And what was I doing here? On expense account, remember? Yeah, I'd spotted Vonnie the night I arrived from San Diego after clearing up the Jolly Roger matter and set my sights for her immediately. Naturally, I wondered what so attractive a girl was doing alone here. She cleared that up for me at dinner the second night.
I still don't understand why Daddy hasn't arrived yet.
Oh? He's supposed to join you on this vacation?
We always spend our vacations together. At least we have since Mother died a few years ago.
You're an only child?
Yes. Really a foster child. Just as we were about to take our plane, some crisis or other arose at the plant. So he made me come along and wait for him. Lamarr Metal Products.
Lamarr Matter. Oh, yeah. Aircraft components, isn't it? South Bend, Indiana?
Yes. You know how crisis can arrive in a business like that.
Sure, imagine so.
Government orders, all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, you'll probably hear from him before. Oh. Here, waiter, would you like to get us...
Senorita, a telegram for the lady.
Oh? Excuse me, Johnny.
Sure. Here you are, Peter.
Gracias, senor.
Oh, dear.
What's the matter?
It's from my father, and I don't like it. Listen. Must delay departure a few more days. Doctor's orders.
Oh?
Nothing to worry about. Stay there in La Jolla until I join you. Love, Daddy.
That's too bad.
But doctor's orders. There's nothing wrong with Daddy. He had a new insurance examination just a month ago. They gave him a clean bill of health.
What company?
Try Mutual something or other, but what difference does it make? There's something wrong about this. I'm sure of it.
Well, why don't you phone him?
Yes. Yes, I will.
My cottage is right next door here. Come on. It was none of my business, but the name of Tri-Mutual rang an old familiar bell. Yeah, I'd handled a lot of cases for them. Anyway, she wasted no time in putting through a call to her father's private number in South Bend.
Yes, operator? Thank you. I don't know why I didn't go to my own cottage to make this call.
My pleasure.
I guess I'm a bit upset by this wire.
I don't blame you.
There's nothing wrong with Daddy. There can't be.
Well, maybe he just made the mistake of mixing too many oysters with too many martinis.
Hello? Hello? Daddy, what's this telegram you sent me? Oh. Oh, I see. Oh, well, you had me scared for a few minutes. Oh, yes, fine. Mm-hmm. Yes, if you must know the truth, I have. Johnny Dollar.
Uh-oh.
Very.
Careful, gal.
Oh, he says he runs a filling station, but I don't believe him. I'll tell you all when you get here. And hurry, darling, please. All right, Daddy. Good night, dear. Oh, thank goodness. You don't know how close your guess was, Johnny.
Oh?
It was just a slight case of indigestion. Plus the fact he wanted another day at the plant.
Well, good. Then let's go back to the dining room and see what kind of indigestion we can accumulate. Well, that started it. 3 days and nights of as much fun and relaxation as I've had in years. A wonderful place to stay, a private beach that I'll wager is second to none on the Pacific coast. Swimming, water skiing, skin diving, sailing, everything. Oh, this was it. Or so I thought. Oh, why make any bones about it? I'm a sucker for romance. And believe me, it wasn't hard to be serious with Vonnie.
Johnny.
Yeah?
This is nice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in love at first sight. Do you?
No. No,
But it is nice, isn't it?
Hey, oh, gal.
Hmm?
It'd be much too easy to fall in love with you, Vonnie. And I mean the forever kind.
Well, would that be so terrible?
You've got one big strike against you, you know.
Johnny, what?
M-O-N-E-Y. Money.
You lose.
Huh?
I have nothing, except what my father gives me. You know, allowance and for clothes and things, and you know. So you see, I'm just as poor as you are. Only you aren't. You wouldn't be staying at a place like this.
Another thing. You know absolutely nothing about me.
I know you don't make a living by running any old filling station.
Johnny Dollar at the sign of the Flying Red Horse.
Oh, stop it.
Well, for all you know, I'm a gangster, a safecracker, a jewel thief. Or worse still, playboy scion of a wealthy family who never did a lick of work in his life. In other words, a worthless bum.
Don't say that, Johnny, even in fun.
How'd you fill him, huh?
Yes, and their mothers. Old dowagers trying to marry them off to another wealthy family. Add the name Lamarr to their end of the social register listing. Insure the fortune with another fortune.
I thought you said you were poor.
Well, you know what I mean. A bunch of worthless fops, that's all they are. I've seen better men among the servants and chauffeurs, a little Mexican boy who helps one of the gardeners, and the young businessmen there in South Bend and in other cities. Maybe earning just enough to make ends meet, but men. Ambitious, hard-working, willing to get somewhere on their own merit. And, well, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you marry one of them, Bonnie?
It isn't as easy as that, Johnny. You know it. Maybe I was waiting for someone like you to... I still don't believe in love at first sight.
Good.
Let me snuggle again. Like before we started this horrible discussion.
Mm-hmm. Sun's going down, though, honey. This little niche in the rocks is going to get cold. Yeah, look. Everybody else has left the beach.
Come on, snuggle. I like it. Kiss me.
And I thought I'd have to ask for it.
Johnny? What do you do?
Well... Well, I'll tell you. I live in Hartford, as I told you, and I'm really...
Listen. He's calling you.
Yeah, you too.
Oh, the spoil sport.
Well, maybe it's word from your dad. Here, up you come.
Oh, I hope so. Come on, Johnny. Pedro! Pedro!
Over here. Here we are. Here. What's up?
Oh, senorita. Telegrams.
Telegrams?
But the one for the senor was marked Rush, so I rushed.
Good boy, Pedro. Here. No, I'll tip you when we get back to the motel. Stop by my cottage.
Johnny, it's...
What's wrong, Bonnie?
It's from our family doctor. I'm afraid... Here, you read it.
Sure, I'll be glad to. Regret having to inform you your father died a few hours ago. Suggest you return to South Bend immediately.
Oh, Johnny!
It was a few minutes before Vonnie could pull herself together enough to walk from the beach up to her cottage where she could pack her things for the trip back to South Bend. I told her I'd make the necessary plane reservations for her. But what I didn't tell her was the contents of the wire I'd received, the one marked Rush. It was from Pat McCracken at Universal Adjustment Bureau. A request to call him at his home in Hartford immediately. I put through the call.
Hello, Pat McCracken.
Well, Killjoy, what's on your mind?
Johnny?
That's right.
Hey, you got my wire.
Why else do you think I'm calling?
I tried to get you long distance all day. Your motel didn't seem to know where you were.
Well, that was my doing. They might have spoiled a beautiful romance. But what's on your mind?
Johnny, you've got to cut your vacation short.
Oh, no, you don't.
And you've got to come back to Hartford right away.
What? Now, listen, I'm
yes,
just...
but plan to make a long stopover in South Bend, Indiana.
South Bend?
That's right.
Oh, I get it. This is a gag. Or did you know I'd figured maybe on stopping over there anyhow?
I don't know what you're talking about, but now listen. By a rare stroke of luck, we just got word of the death this morning of one of Tri-Mutual's bigger policyholders.
How much?
$1.5 million. Man named Thomas Rene Lamarr.
Lamarr? Pat!
Now listen, Johnny. The circumstances lead us to think it may be murder.
Johnny Dollar.
I have your party in Hartford, Connecticut now, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, thanks.
Just a moment, please.
Hello, McCracken, Universal Adjustment Bureau.
Hi, Pat.
Johnny, Are you still in La Jolla? Didn't you get my telegram?
Sure did, and I'm getting ready to leave for South Bend right now. In the company of a beautiful, charming, lovely...
Now, look, son, your vacation is over.
Charming, lovely girl named Vonnie Lamarr.
Okay. Now, will you... What?
That's right. Thomas Rene Lamar's daughter.
Does she know her father has died?
Telegram for her arrived at the same time I received yours.
You didn't show her my wire.
No. She doesn't know yet that you think it might be murder. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. To the Universal Adjustment Bureau, Hartford, Connecticut. Attention, Mr. Patrick McCracken. Following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Lamarr Matter. Or was it murder? Expense account item 1. I'm calling it item 1, Pat, because it's really the first tab on the Lamarr case. Previous expenses here in La Jolla were charged against the Jolly Roger case. Expenses for the vacation you promised me and have now so rudely interrupted. Item 1, $9.60 for that long-distance call to Pat McCracken in Hartford.
Now, what under the sun is Vonnie Lamarr doing in La Jolla?
Vacation? Same as I was trying to take. Now tell me something, Pat. Has a claim already been filed on Lamar's $1.5 million policy?
No claim has been filed.
Well, then how'd you know about his death so quickly?
Luck, pure and simple. The insurance company is Tri-Mutual. Big office in Chicago, headed up by Lawrence Comstock.
Oh, sure. Known him for years. Good man.
Well, he's written all of Lamar's policies himself. He got to know the old man pretty well.
Uh-huh.
Personal friends, you know. Weekend golf together, same clubs, and both nuts about two-handed pinochle.
So?
Well, Comstock had been Lamar's house guest the past few days, and been with him practically every minute the old man wasn't at his plant.
Was he actually there when Lamarr died?
Yes. He was the one who called the doctor when the old man keeled over.
Look, you keep referring to him as the old man. Just how old was he?
Oh, not too. Let me see. I've got it. He was 59.
The doctor's name on her telegram was Wilson. You know his first name?
No, I don't know. That stuff you'll have to get from Comstock there in South Bend.
Okay.
Well, at any rate, Johnny, he called me the minute the doctor pronounced Lamarr dead, and specifically asked that you be put on the case.
Yeah, well, that's flattering. Okay, it looks like I am, but tell me something.
Yeah?
What makes Larry think the man was murdered?
I'd rather not discuss it now. He'll give it to you when you see him.
Our plane leaves in about an hour.
No doubt you can be of some comfort to the daughter. Her knowing that you're handling the case.
Pat, that's the one thing I don't want her to know. I hung up, leaving Pat to ponder over that last remark. Wired Larry Comstock that I was coming and finished my packing for the trip back east. When I'd finished, I paid my bill at the fancy motel, and all I can say is thank goodness it was on expense account. And I knocked on the door of the cottage next to mine.
Yes, come in. Oh, Johnny.
Hi, Vonnie. Any way I can help you?
More than you have. You've been wonderful. Arranging the flight back for me.
For us?
Taking care of the things here. Johnny.
That's right, for us. I'm making the trip with you.
But I thought you said Hartford, Connecticut. And your vacation.
Oh, the vacation's all over. Wouldn't be any fun for me to stay around after this.
Oh, darling.
And South Bend is along the way. I'd feel better if I kind of took you home rather than let you make the long trip alone under the circumstances. And maybe I have some business or something to attend to there.
Darling, I don't know what...
Easy.
Oh, you made it so wonderful. When Daddy couldn't get here these last few days, and now that this terrible thing has happened, you stick by me this way.
It's the only way I'd have it.
You're so wonderful.
All right. Come on now. Come on, get your things together. I've called for a cab to the airport in San Diego. Come on, Mom.
Oh, thank you, Johnny. I love you for this.
Sure. I can't say I exactly relish thoughts of the flight back east, much as I hoped I could be of some small comfort to the girl, much as I genuinely wanted to. Such things can be pretty rough, particularly in this instance. But I am an insurance investigator, and in a matter of this sort, $1.5 million at stake, the possibility of murder, well, it's up to me to suspect everyone, whether I like it or not. Yeah, I sometimes think it's a pretty rotten racket to be in.
Johnny.
Sleep, Vonnie. Sleep. You'll need all of it you can get before you have to face things at home.
I wasn't sleeping. I was just thinking. And being so thankful that you're here with me.
Honey, I wired ahead for a hotel reservation.
What?
Yep. I'm going to stay in South Bend a few days.
You wonderful,
No, I'm going to be honest with you. I also wired a friend of mine, a fellow with whom I do business now and then. So well, anyhow, I'll be there for a few days and maybe more, and as long as I can be of any help to you.
It's funny.
Hmm?
You know, you still haven't told me what you do.
Well, don't worry about that now.
But I'm curious. Tell me. It'll give us something to talk about.
Did you wire anyone at your home about your arrival?
Yes, Harrison the butler. Johnny.
Well, how about the doctor who telegraphed you?
Yes, Dr. Wilson, too. Honey.
Wilson.
Edward T. Wilson. Now tell me.
No, you stop talking and try to get some rest.
But all...
I'm going back to the lounge in the tail section so that you'll have nothing to do but get some sleep.
Then you won't tell me.
No. Tomorrow. Sleep.
Thank you, Johnny. Now I can, maybe.
Yeah, rough. Very rough. I felt like a traitor to her. Well, we landed in Chicago at 10 a.m. and took a cab from the airport to the Lamarr home on the outskirts of South Bend. I'd never before realized that the big industrial city with all its huge, dirty, sprawling factories had such a wealthy residential section. And the Lamarr home on Parody Lane was one of the most impressive of all, set far back in what must have been an acre of well-kept lawn. In addition to Harrison, the butler, we were met at the door by the housekeeper, cook, upstairs and downstairs maids, and a couple of other servants, all of them obviously in deep sorrow over the passing of the master of the house.
And may I most humbly for all of us express our deepest sympathy in this hour of this...
It's all... Thank you, Harrison. Thank you all. I'm going to my room and we'll call you when...
Yes, miss?
This is Mr. Dollar.
Mr. Dollar.
He's to be admitted to the house. Any time
I'll be here, Vonnie, as soon as possible. And you know where to reach me.
Yes, Johnny. Thank you.
And now to get to work, whether I liked it or not. I took the cab to the townhouse, dumped my bags, then back to Chicago in the office of Lawrence Comstock, Tri-Mutual's representative. He was waiting for me.
Well, Johnny, you sure walked into something this time.
Thick one, Larry?
You don't know. You don't know the half of it. The million and a half of it.
You gave Pat McCracken back in Hartford the idea that Lamarr's death might be murder.
I think it is. I really think it is, Johnny.
Why?
Tom Lamarr was one of the best friends I ever had.
Should have been. Your commission on the insurance he was carrying was enough to set you up for life.
Oh, no, Johnny, don't talk like that. Tom was a good friend of mine, quite aside from business. I sold him his very first policy years ago, and he was just a bookkeeper for Atlas Processing Company, earning $70 a week. And when he married Delise...
Delise?
That's his wife, who died 5 years ago.
Oh.
That policy was only for $2,500, straight life.
So?
Well, you know how little my commission was on that. But I liked him. I saw that he had a spark about him, that with the proper kind of encouragement, he could go places. And he did.
Yeah, so I understand. I understand that Lamarr Metal Products is a really big thing.
General Metal Fabricators just bought them out.
Oh?
Yes, and Tom was getting all ready to retire. Spend the rest of his days having fun, golf, fishing, winters in California, and summers in Minnesota, that sort of thing. And taking care of Vonnie, his adopted daughter.
Yeah. Kind of worth taking care of, too.
Eh?
I know her, Larry. Met her in La Jolla, California.
Oh, then you...
Brought her back here to face the sad fact of her father's death.
Why didn't... Oh, yes, of course. The family doctor, Ed Wilson. I should have realized. He sent a telegram to Vonnie to the same place you were, in La Jolla. She's a wonderful girl, John.
You're telling me. But, Larry...
Yes?
Something you told Pat McCracken back in Hartford has led him to think that possibly Thomas Lamarr was murdered.
Johnny, in the years I've known Tom Lamarr...
Yeah?
I've not only known him, but I've known his family.
Well?
And much of his affairs, personal as well as business.
Well?
His wife, Delise, I would have married her long ago if I'd been able.
Oh, get to the point, Larry.
Oh, yes, of course. And his daughter, Vonnie. I wish she'd been my daughter, my child.
Come on, Larry. Come on, get at it.
She's a wonderful girl.
You said that.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, there were things in her past, Vonnie's past, that even her mother and later her father didn't know about. But I did.
For heaven's sake, man, get to the point.
You too?
Yes, me too. Yeah, me. The confirmed bachelor. Take him or leave him. Have fun. Forget him. Make a big... Come on, Larry.
Listen, Johnny. Now listen carefully. Dr. E.T. Wilson, Ed Wilson, an old friend of mine as well as Tom.
Yes?
It was Ed who made the last insurance examination 4 months ago. Thomas Rene Lamarr was in better health than you are. After all, he was only 59, and he'd lived a careful life, taking good care of himself.
Well, go on.
We were sure of his physical condition, sure of it. That's why I let him add to his already large policy.
Larry, you've told Pat McCracken, and you've admitted to me that you think Thomas Lamarr was murdered.
Yes, John. Because of one man.
Who?
The one man who shared his confidences, business and personal.
Yeah?
Who was closer to him than even Ed Wilson or me.
Well, who?
One man who alone could be sure of benefiting by Tom Lamar's death.
Oh, look, Larry, that bush you're beating around is getting bigger and bigger.
It's so simple, John, so discouragingly simple.
All right, Larry, all right. Take it any way you like. I'm here for 2 reasons. Because I'm assigned to this case, and because of Vonnie.
Yes, I know.
Now, who is it you suspect?
The man Vonnie is really in love with.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Johnny.
Johnny Dollar.
Johnny, this is Vonnie.
Oh, yes?
Please, come out here to the house, right away.
There's something wrong?
Johnny, you said you came back here to South Bend to... Well, because you didn't want me to have to be alone to face the death of my father.
Yes, dear,
Johnny, you also said you have business here.
Well, yes.
Is it connected with my father's death?
Vonnie.
Please, dear, don't lie to me. He was insured for over $1 million. Or do you know that?
Listen.
Was this business of yours connected with Daddy? Was it because you, too, think he was murdered? Johnny?
I'll come out and see you. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. To the Home Office, Universal Adjustment Bureau, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, the Lamarr Matter. The question, was it murder? The beautiful girl, Vonnie Lamarr, and the beautiful romance I found during my so-called vacation at La Jolla, California. Well, things really got into a bind when she received news that her foster father back in South Bend, Indiana, had suddenly died. And I received word that I was assigned to the case, not only because of the $1.5 million policy on Lamar's life, but because it looked as though it might be nothing more nor less than murder. From La Jolla, California to South Bend, Indiana was only a quick flight by plane, and the first person I contacted was Lawrence Comstock of Tri-Mutual, Chicago office, who'd issued the policies on Lamar's life.
Yes, Johnny, the only 2 real friends Thomas Lamarr had these past few years since his wife died were Dr. Ed Wilson and myself.
And Wilson is the man you called in when Lamarr died.
Yes, you see, Tom and I used to spend a lot of time together. Weekend golf, belonged to the same clubs, that sort of thing. We used to love playing 2-handed pinochle together.
Uh-huh. Go on.
I was with him at his house the night he died. And so unexpectedly, Johnny, as I told you, he'd had a most thorough physical examination only a few months before. Or I'd never permitted him to increase his insurance to $1.5 million.
Must have cost him a fancy premium.
It did. It did. Prohibitive. But that was the way he wanted it. For his adopted daughter, for Vonnie, whom you know. And if you're half a man, having spent a few days with her in La Jolla, you're in love.
Oh, shut up and tell me what you know, will you? You said murder.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Johnny. It began last weekend. As I often do, I spent the weekend with Thomas Lamarr. Well, Friday night, Dr. Ed Wilson was with us. We played three-handed pinochle.
Yes, yes.
Tom was in perfect health. I know he was. And our evening was all fun, completely uninterrupted. Except by young Marson.
Marson?
Tom's confidential secretary. And he's the one.
Larry, you are the one who told Pat McCracken back in Hartford that you thought Thomas Lamarr was murdered. That's why you wanted me to come on out here to investigate the case.
Yes.
All right, now tell me the truth. Is it because of your great friendship for Lamarr? Because of the $1.5 million policy through your company? Or because you really think he was murdered?
Are you here because of the commission you can earn on a case as big as this? Or because Thomas Lamarr happened to be the father of Vonnie Lamarr?
I was ordered on this case from Hartford.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, of course.
Okay.
All right. Now, maybe I'm a silly old fuddy-duddy. Maybe I'm more worked up over this case than you are, whatever the reason. But let me tell you this thing in my own way.
Go on, Larry.
Well, we know, Ed Wilson and I because of being so close to Tom Lamarr so long, Ed because of his medical knowledge. We know that Tom was in perfect health. His 59 years were nothing for a specimen like him. Ed left Friday night. I stayed on. Saturday, we played 9 holes of golf. Tom wanted to play 18, but I didn't feel up to it. And that night, we played pinochle. Just the two of us. And we got to bed early. Well, Sunday, we just sat around and talked until evening when we played cards again. There was no strain, Johnny, even if the man had had a bad heart or something.
I understand. Now, what about this Marson you named?
We quit shortly before midnight. I was tired, my years, no doubt. And I knew Tom would have a hard day at the plant on Monday. And so I suggested we get to bed. He smiled, as only Tom could smile. A warm, tolerant, yet at the same time understanding and friendly, completely friendly smile.
Go on.
And he said he'd probably have to take one of Ed Wilson's sleeping pills to doze off so early. But I knew, Johnny.
You knew what?
Sugar pills. That's all Ed had ever given him. Sugar pills. I think Tom knew it, too.
Well?
I went up to my room, Tom to his. I heard the water running in his bathroom. About the same time, I was brushing my teeth. And then the crash.
Crash?
Yes. I ran out through the hall to his room. He was lying on the floor of the bath, broken tumbler beside him. He left the bottle of sugar pills still open.
He'd taken one of them?
Yes. And he was dead.
You mean you think...
No, I called Ed Wilson. He was there in only minutes. It was he who officially said that Tom was dead. Had died instantaneously. And he was sure it was poison. Peculiar color of the lips or something.
What do you mean?
It was some terrible stimulant to the heart, a very rare drug that only a few researchers would know about. Even the heart of a young and healthy boy would find the influence of this drug too much, too strong.
Dr. Wilson told you this?
Yes.
What is this?
I don't know. Something very rare. But he is sure that's what did it.
Well, what did the police say? You called them in, didn't you?
Ed did. They'd never heard of it either, the drug. But they've sent samples of the sugar pills to Chicago and to Washington for analysis.
Well?
We should hear from them shortly.
Where is this Dr. Ed Wilson?
Oh, here, I'll just write you his address.
Good, thanks. All right now, Larry.
Yes?
You told me earlier there was one man you thought might be responsible for this. Who?
Walter Marson.
Who's Walter Marson?
Walter has been Thomas Lamarr's personal private secretary for some years.
Go on.
And Walter has been married to LaVon for over a year. Oh, I'm sorry, Johnny, because I know how you feel about her.
Well, why should that make him want to murder Vonnie's father?
Because of Thomas's will. Tom made a will, Johnny, that left virtually everything he owned to the corporation of which he was the head, except for his life insurance.
Is that why the amount of his insurance was so big?
I suppose so. The sole beneficiary of the policy, as you know, is Vonnie.
Oh, go on.
Therefore, the only way in which anyone else could share in the estate is by being married to her.
All right. You've knocked down a couple of dream castles for me. And I'm not talking about a family fortune. I'm talking about a girl.
Yes, John, I understand.
If she loved him enough to marry him, let him be happy. If he shares some of that $1.5 million, well, let him share it. He deserves to, if she wants him to. He married her, she married him, all right.
It isn't as easy as that.
What do you mean?
You've forgotten you wanted to know why I think Walter Marson murdered Thomas Lamarr. Yes, you see, I happen to know Vonnie did not love Walter.
You just said she married him.
Unknown to her foster father.
What are you getting at?
Somewhere along the line, Walter Marson, shall we say, got something on Vonnie. What it was, I don't know. But he had a strange power over her, it seemed.
Larry, what are you talking about?
I don't know, Johnny. From the time Walter first started working for Thomas Lamarr, I didn't trust him. And yet Tom seemed to have the most implicit faith in him. Walter was a good accountant, yes, handled many of Tom's personal investments, and handled them very well, too. Thomas paid him very well, rewarded him, always, when he made unusual profits.
Why not?
But Walter Marson made it plain from the beginning that he wanted to work his way into Thomas's shoes in the corporation, and this Thomas would not have.
And the reason?
Because Thomas knew that many of the stock deals Walter had made in his behalf were not completely, shall we say, legitimate, or legally proper, perhaps. But not morally so, that is.
Corporation money instead of his own, maybe.
Yeah, that's it. Buying huge blocks in order to inflate the price, and then dumping the stocks at their peak, that sort of thing. I don't know much of the details. That's out of my line. But Thomas knew very well that if Walter Marson were ever put into the corporation, he'd use the same slick methods for purely personal gain. At the expense of the corporation he'd spent his life building up.
How do you know about this?
I was Thomas's confidant. His closest friend.
All right, Larry. Let me do a little summing up. Walter Marson failed to dig into Lamarr's money via the corporation, so he married his daughter to be sure of latching on to the family fortune. And that's it.
Yes, it's as simple as that.
Therefore, you're sure this Marson poisoned Lamarr?
Yes, and because of the findings of Dr. Ed Wilson.
Which haven't yet been verified.
Well, no.
And even if you do find proof that Lamarr was poisoned, you have no proof that Marson was back of it.
No.
Larry, what if Vonnie had something to do with it?
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. That's a real possibility, isn't it?
Good heavens, Johnny, you can't mean that. You say you know the girl.
Yeah, sure. And I fell for her like a ton of bricks. Whether it's simply because I'm a sucker for such a charmer or just because she charmed me so well, I don't know. But why did she want me if she's already married?
Johnny, what are you getting at?
$1 million at stake. $1.5 million. How she could possibly have known I'd be staying at the La Crescenta in La Jolla, California, I don't know. But with $1.5 million at stake, you could find out most anything. So she worked on me, got me on her side, even before she needed to. And when her father died, according to plan, she knew there'd be no question of settlement of a claim for the insurance because of the way she'd so successfully drawn me into a cozy little noose.
Johnny, you're out of your mind.
Am I? What are you talking about, you old... Yeah, I guess I am.
John, I've been a confirmed bachelor all my life, even before I was your age. But I know very well that if I had ever met Vonnie Lamarr, my bachelor days would have suddenly ended. Oh, you're hurt. Now that you've found out she's married, you're hurt and you're angry. You're striking out at anything you can reach, anyone. And I'm sorry. Don't let it take away your judgment.
I'm sorry, too, Larry. I didn't mean to... I really didn't...
It's all right, Johnny. But now get hold of yourself. You have a job to do, not only for me, for the company, but for yourself.
Okay, Larry, thanks.
Good boy.
I don't know what I'm going to do, but I guess whatever it is, I better start doing it.
Yes. Good luck, Johnny.
Johnny Dollar.
Dr. Edward Wilson, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, hello, Doctor.
Mr. Comstock of Tri-Mutual Insurance asked me to call you.
Regarding the death of Thomas Rene Lamarr.
Yes. I've just left the police department. The chief autopsy surgeon...
Yes?
There's no question about it. Thomas Lamarr was poisoned.
I see. I'd like to talk to you, Doctor. I understand you were one of Mr. Lamar's closest friends.
Yes?
And one of the beneficiaries of his will.
That's quite... Where did you learn that?
I didn't. It was a shot in the dark.
Oh, look here, young...
Better stick close to your office, Doctor. I'm on my way over to see you. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. To the Home Office, Universal Adjustment Bureau, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, the Lamarr Matter, now proven to be murder. As the facts of this case lined up, it appeared that Thomas Rene Lamarr, wealthy manufacturer of aircraft components, had only two really good friends. Lawrence Comstock, who had issued him $1.5 million worth of life insurance policies, and Dr. Edward T. Wilson, and a wonderful, lovely, charming adopted daughter, LaBonne, whom I'd met during my brief vacation in La Jolla, California, whom I'd accompanied back here to South Bend, Indiana, when she received word of her father's sudden death. What little evidence I'd been able to pick up seemed to point to one Walter Marson, Lamar's personal secretary. Unknown to Lamarr, he had married Vonnie, and therefore stood to benefit from his death. Oh, why kid about it? I'd fallen for the girl, heavily. And when I found out that she was already married to a slick, smart promoter, well, let's keep personalities out of this case, especially mine. I'd told Vonnie that I'd come up and see her out at the family mansion, but I thought I'd better contact Dr. Wilson first.
Come in. Come in, Mr. Dollar. I've heard a great deal about you from Lawrence Comstock. And please, sit down.
Thanks, Doctor.
You said something over the phone that's bothered me.
I won't mince words. Apparently, you and Larry Comstock were Thomas Lamar's closest friend.
I don't think there's any question about it, my boy. And I'm sure Lawrence will verify that.
He already has. That's why I took a shot in the dark and suggested that you're a beneficiary of Lamar's will, not his insurance. I already know that his daughter Vonnie gets that, but his will.
Well, does that shock you, or...
I suppose Larry's a beneficiary, too.
Yes.
Then either one of you might conceivably have had a motive for bringing about his death.
What? Now, just a minute, young man.
Relax, Doctor, relax. I make no bones about it. This is the roughest case I ever tried to handle. Unfortunately, I started out by getting myself emotionally involved with Vonnie Lamarr. Go ahead, laugh if you want to.
Hardly. She's a very wonderful girl. A bit mixed up at times, perhaps, because of...
Well, because of what?
Are you aware that, unknown to her father, Vonnie was married? Is married?
Yes, to some Walter Marson, Larry Comstock told me.
Marson was Thomas Lamar's personal secretary. Did Lawrence tell you why she married him?
I don't think he knows.
It was a few short months after Thomas Lamar's wife died. A terrible blow both to Vonnie, who was completely devoted to her foster mother, and to him. By way of quenching his sorrow, Thomas drove himself in his work, 16, 18 hours a day at the plant, all his waking hours, so that he would have time to think of nothing but his work. But Vonnie had no such outlet for her emotions. Her friends, a lot of rich ne'er-do-wells, rich, worthless bums, if you like, got her interested in gambling.
Oh?
She plunged into it with a recklessness and abandon that quickly got her into debt so deeply that, there was only one way out.
Her father didn't know?
No. But young Marson did, and he took full advantage of it. In return for her agreement to marry him, he promised to quietly obtain the necessary funds from Thomas Lamar's investments, which he, Marson, handled. And he did.
And she married him?
Yes.
But how could she? She didn't love him.
And you must realize her emotional state at that time. She was terribly upset over the recent death of her mother, and so was her father, of course. She knew the shock it would be if he ever knew of her gambling and the tremendous debt she'd incurred. She was beside herself, ready to do anything.
So she married Marson. I could kill him.
Now, let's get one thing straight, Mr. Dollar.
Yes?
You, too, are a bit upset when you came in here. You spoke as though you might think both Lawrence Comstock and I could have motive for wanting Thomas's death.
I'm sorry, Doctor.
It's true that we are beneficiaries of his will. At least Thomas assured us we were. But only in a very minor way. Thomas was loyal to us as he was to the servants who have been so devoted to him for so long. And whatever little he has left us and them...
I'm sorry, Doctor. I guess I was just feeling hurt and angry and taking it out on anyone I could find. At least that's the way Larry Comstock put it. And he was right. Now I got a job to do. What have the police found out?
Only enough to back up my immediate suspicion that Thomas was poisoned by pyrodamron.
Pyrodamron?
Yes, it's a little-known drug that produces tremendous but only momentary stimulation to the heart, causes the heart to almost literally burst, and it leaves virtually no traceable residue in the system.
But you said the chief autopsy surgeon found out...
No. He found only positive indication that pyrodamron had been used. I found the first clue to it only minutes after Thomas died. A staining of the tongue that even then was rapidly disappearing.
Can you tie this drug in with Walter Marston?
No. No, the fact that it was available at all has stumped both the police and myself. The last known source was a small island off the coast of Greece, many, many years ago. And all the tiny plants from which it could be obtained as pollen were burned by the Greek government.
But somebody, somewhere, must have had some seeds, planted them, and obtained this pollen.
Yes.
How do you suppose Mr. Lamarr took the stuff?
Well, it could have been mixed with one of the medicines in the cabinet in his bathroom, but we found no traces.
Uh-huh. Larry Comstock said you used to give him harmless sugar pills as a kind of sedative.
Yes. Thomas knew they were perfectly harmless, but he occasionally took them anyway. It was a kind of joke.
Could this pyrus stuff have been mixed with them?
We found no trace in the bottle.
But you would have been able to.
Yes. It is only in assimilation by the human body that dissipation is so complete as to make it virtually undetectable. I'm afraid I haven't been of much help to you, Mr. Dollar.
I think you have, Doctor. I think you have. It was only a hunch, but in this business you sometimes have to depend as much on hunches as on common sense. I picked out the library nearest to the Lamarr residence to do my research.
Pyrodamron. You're sure that is the word?
Yes. Can't you find anything on the subject?
Nothing beyond what you found in the Pharmacopoeia Index. The name of the plant from which it is derived. Blephara piporus calandus. No common name.
Yeah, no. Well, thanks.
Of course, the main branch of the City Library in Chicago might have something.
Sure, thanks.
Why, yes, I'm sure I can find what you're looking for. You see, I myself am quite a student of rare drugs and poisons.
Oh, what's that?
After a long, dull day here at the library, I enjoy nothing more than curling up in a big chair in my little apartment and reading detective fiction.
Oh, well, where's the book?
I'll show you. But quietly, please. We must maintain the proper atmosphere for our readers.
Oh, sure.
Yes, I know the poison pyrodamron very well. It was used in that wonderful story, The Case of the Yellow-Lipped Monster. Oh, excellent book. Thrilling. Oh, you should read it.
Yeah, well,
Pyrodamron was new to me, so as usual, I had to find out all about it, and I did find out, too. The plant it's derived from, where it's grown, where it was grown. You see, it's been extinct now for many years.
Yeah, I understand. Now,
deadly thing, terribly deadly. But now here is the book that will tell you all about it. The title is Flora Exotica Mediterranea. That means exotic flowers of the Mediterranean. Flora Exotica Mediterranean.
What's the matter?
I don't... Oh, good heavens, it isn't here.
You sure?
But it was. I'm sure it was only yesterday. Oh, dear. Well, here, do you see? It was taken out from right here.
Well, who took it out?
I don't know.
Won't your records show?
No, I never permit any books to be taken from this section without my knowledge. Never.
Afraid somebody'd consult the stuff for ulterior motives?
Oh, dear, no. It's just that the only ones who want these books are the rabid whodunit fans like myself, and, well, I like to talk to them.
Well, isn't there some other book that might give me the information I want?
Oh, not another book in the world. I know. And now, oh, tragedy, it's been stolen.
Well, this was one time a hunch didn't pay off. Quite the contrary. I'd wasted a lot of time. Expense account item 9, 520, taxi out to the Lamarr mansion. I was almost relieved to learn that Vonnie was not home.
I'm very sorry, sir, but she and Mr. Marston left shortly after noon to make the funeral arrangements.
Thank you, Harrison.
However, as you know, Miss Vonnie wished you to have full access to the house, and if you care to wait...
How is she holding up, Harrison?
Most admirably, Mr. Dollar, under the circumstances. Mr. Lamar's passing has been a terrible thing for her, for all of us.
Yes, sure, of course.
What'll happen to the house, I don't know.
Won't Miss Lamarr continue to live in it?
This morning she said no, that she'd travel for a while, and then settle down somewhere else, far away from this city.
Oh? And what about you, the servants?
Oh, we shall, of course, have to seek employment elsewhere.
Say, tell me, Harrison, didn't Mr. Lamarr provide for you in his will?
I do not know, sir, and I do not particularly care. His kindness and loyalty to us during his lifetime was far more important than any provision he may have made for us.
Well, I guess that takes you off the list.
Beg pardon?
Nothing. So tell me, has Walter Marson been around much since Mr. Lamar's death?
Yes, he's been most attentive to Miss Lamarr, which we've all appreciated. He lives here in the house, you know.
No, I didn't know. Harrison, I'd like to see his room.
Sir?
I'm going to lay my cards right on the table. I'm an insurance investigator. Here, my card.
Why, I see. Miss Vonnie hadn't so informed me.
Because she didn't know.
Well, sir,
Now show me to Marson's room.
Yes. This way, please.
Do you like Walter Marson?
Yes, sir, very much. Now.
What does that mean?
I've never spoken of this to anyone else, Mr. Dollar. For years, Walter Marson was a clever, scheming, conniving young man with overpowering ambition to take over the Lamarr Corporation.
So I've heard.
I'm convinced that at one time he even tried to marry Miss Lamarr, and solely for the purpose of forcing his way into the business.
Just tried?
Well, yes, sir. However, in the past year or two, Mr. Marson has changed completely.
What makes you think so?
Because of conversations between him and Mr. Lamarr that I could not avoid overhearing from time to time. Mr. Lamarr knew what Marson was attempting and faced him with his knowledge of it. Here is his room.
Go on.
Mr. Lamarr could have made it very difficult for him in view of his record.
Prison record?
Yes, sir, for embezzlement. But instead, he gave the young man another chance.
So? Go on.
And Mr. Marson made the most of it. He changed completely. I say without reservation, sir, that Mr. Marson is as honorable a young man as I know.
Pretty sure of that, aren't you?
Yes, sir. A butler living as close to them both for so long can Pardon me, sir, but does something give you the reason to think I'm mistaken?
No. Unless perhaps it's this book I just found lying on his desk.
Book, sir?
Flora Exotica Mediterranea. Johnny Dollar.
This is Larry Comstock, Johnny, at Tri-Mutual Insurance. You're out at the Lamarr home.
Yeah, Larry. Police crime lab find out anything more about the stuff from here they took in for examination?
Yes, they certainly did.
Well?
They found traces of that poison, pyradameron, on the toothbrush that Thomas Lamarr was using just before he died.
Are you kidding?
Oh, no, indeed, John, not a bit.
There's a murder weapon for you, a toothbrush. Larry, send the cops out here. I think I've just about got this case sewed up. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar, location South Bend, Indiana. To the Universal Adjustment Bureau, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is my final entry of expenses incurred during investigation of the Lamarr murder. And murder it most certainly was. It was in La Jolla, California, during my so-called vacation, that I met, and I must admit, kind of fell for Vonnie Lamarr. It was from La Jolla that I flew her back to South Bend, Indiana, when we both received news of her foster father's sudden death. All the clues I'd been able to dig up seemed to point to one Walter Marson, who had been Lamarr's personal secretary and who lived at the Lamarr mansion. At his room, there in the house, I found the one book in the world that described the poison, pyradameron, that had killed Thomas Rene Lamarr. Poison derived from a pretty little yellow flower, once raised on an island near Greece. A flower with sudden death in its pollen. Huh?
You're Johnny Dollar, aren't you? Harrison the butler said you were up here.
And you must be Walter Marson.
What are you doing in my room?
Let me ask the questions, Marson.
Now, just a minute.
Look, mister, you may as well know it. I'm an insurance investigator.
So Harrison said, but I don't believe it.
Right here. My credentials.
Uh-huh. Oh, I see, but I thought...
You thought I was just a boyfriend that Vonnie Lamarr met in La Jolla and who just came back here with her to comfort her over the loss of her father.
Yes, that's right.
Well, you were wrong, mister. Or partly so. The main reason I'm here is to find out who murdered Thomas Lamarr and why. And I think I found out.
You have? Well, who, Mr. Dollar?
Interesting book you've been reading here.
Oh.
Flora Exotica Mediterranea. Stolen from the Central Library over in Chicago, wasn't it?
Well, yes. Yes, it was.
Found a poison in it, didn't you, Marson? Pyradameron. Deadly, quick, and hard to trace. So rare that the chances were pretty good it wouldn't even be recognized. But it was. Where'd you get it, Walter?
As you said, at the library.
I'm talking about the poison, the pyradameron that killed Thomas Lamarr.
Oh, no. You're all wrong.
Am I? Who besides Vonnie would benefit from the $1.5 million insurance on Lamar's life?
Well, what made you think that
I know
that
you
I'd
would.
be the...
Because I know you're married to Vonnie.
No.
You tried to
Dollar,
inveigle your way into Lamar's business, but he wouldn't have it. All your chiseling and conniving and phony stock transactions got you nowhere. So you did the next thing you could think of. You got something on Vonnie and forced her to marry you. So you thought you'd at least be sure of a big hunk of the insurance money over my dead body.
No, look, Dollar, maybe I was married to Vonnie, but...
I found out about her big gambling debts, got her off the hook by some fancy manipulation of her foster father's investments. No doubt threatened to tell him all about it unless she did marry you, and thereby guaranteed yourself a prosperous future. Oh, and you timed the whole thing beautifully when she was emotionally upset over the death of Mrs. Lamarr.
No, Dollar, you don't know what you're talking about.
Couldn't wait for him to die a natural death.
Dollar. Mr. Dollar.
Sure, go ahead, speak up and make it good.
Well, I was married to Vonnie. But I'm not now.
Sure.
That's right. I did want a place in Lamarr Metal Products, and I thought I could get it by showing Mr. Lamarr how clever I was. Well, instead of throwing me out, he gave me another chance. I'll be forever grateful to him. It was a turning point in my life. I give you my word, Mr. Dollar, I've done nothing since that time that's been anything but completely honest and above board.
Pretty speech.
No, it's true. It's true, I swear it.
Nevertheless, you married Vonnie in the hope
We're
that...
divorced.
You're what?
Well, it was the only honorable thing I could do. Would you like to see the final papers? Vonnie mailed them to me from Reno before she went to La Jolla.
You mean she... Yeah, let me see them.
Here. My desk.
Don't try to pull a gun out of there, Marcel.
You still don't believe me, do you? Here they are.
Then would you like to tell me who did murder Thomas Lamarr?
I wish to heaven I knew. That's why I got this book, hoping to find some clue as to where the pirate Dameron might have come from.
But you sneaked this book out of the library.
Because I was afraid of the very kind of suspicion that you've shown.
Want to know something? I'm still showing.
And I tell you you're wrong. Ask Vonnie. She'll tell you.
Oh, where is she? Harrison said you two had gone out together to make arrangements for the funeral.
Yes, we did, and we came back together. But when Harrison told her that you were here to see her, she said she'd be back in a few minutes.
Where did she go?
Oh, she's still in the house somewhere, I think.
Marson, just what is your relationship with Vonnie now?
Well, there never was any love between us. Our marriage was only on paper.
Yeah?
The foster daughter of the man to whom I owe so much, it's my duty to do what I can for her. In spite of her...
Whatever what?
Oh, even to the end, we kept from him any knowledge of her dissipations, her drinking and gambling.
I thought that was all over.
Oh, she's more deeply in debt now than she's ever been. I'm thankful Mr. Lamarr died without knowing.
Well, I'll be.
But with the insurance, of course, she'll be able to pay off.
Marson, you're a dirty rat, and your accusation isn't very well veiled.
Are you trying to say that I'm accusing Vonnie of the... murder? Oh. Mr. Dollar.
Yeah, go on.
This book. According to this, the plant from which Pirate Dameron is derived is now extinct.
Unless somebody, somewhere, managed to salvage some seeds that were then planted.
Yes, exactly. Lephra purpurus calendus, found only on a small Grecian island. I wonder if Dmitri would know. About
Dmitri? What's this sudden switch? Who's Dmitri?
He's the old gardener. He's here on the estate.
Come on, Marson, and bring that book. Before going out to the gardener's cottage, I asked Harrison where Vonnie had gone, and he told us he only knew that she was somewhere in the grounds, that her car was still in the driveway. I phoned Larry Comstock again, but he'd left his office, presumably to come out here. And I called the man I'd talked to earlier at the library.
Of course I can. As I told you before, I keep a very close check on the books in that section. Let me see now.
Yeah?
Yes, Flora Exotica Mediterranea has only been out 4 or 5 times in the past several years. Once to a Mr. Thomas... Thomas Hanley.
Oh.
To a Mr. Ralph Cummings, Miss Lavon Lamarr, and...
That's enough. Thanks. I tried not to show Marson how I felt as we walked out to the cottage of Dmitri, the old gardener.
Could be nothing too nice for Mr. Lamarr. So I always try keep things nice.
Yeah, I can see.
Dmitri, Mr. Dollar's here to investigate the circumstances of Mr. Lamar's death.
Investigate? Oh, yes. I hope you find who do this terrible thing to such a fine...
Well, I want you to look at this book. Here. Did you ever see a flower like that?
Oh, yes.
Yes, where?
In old country. In Greece it used to be, but no more.
You never saw it in this country?
No, yes.
Well, which is it?
I should not say, because in old country is against the law. I don't know why.
Well, I do. Go on, Dimitri.
But I keep many of my nice seeds anyway.
And some of them were for this flower?
Yes. You don't mind? It is very pretty flower.
Did you ever plant any of them?
Oh, no, not I.
Somebody else?
She was always so nice to me.
Bonnie? Miss Lamarr?
Look, sir. She even sent me gift on her trip last week.
Dimitri.
Look. You call it toilet case. See? It have soap and toothbrush and comb.
Dollar, look, that toothbrush.
I am looking. The yellow stain on the bristle's the same color as the flower on this deadly plant.
So pretty.
She said her father one of these too. Oh, Dollar, I'm sick.
You sick, poor
so
man?
So crude, so corny, and so obvious it would never be noticed. And she was safely a couple of thousand miles away beyond any possible suspicion when the... Dimitri,
yes.
Did she plant any of these seeds you gave her?
She often plant many kinds.
Where? Show us.
In the morning, maybe. It's getting pretty dark now.
Now. Come on, Marson.
Yeah. You must not tell her I show you. She always keep her little garden secret. She not even think I know. She very sweet girl.
Yeah, very. But now...
Oh, wait. She there now. Cultivating.
Cultivating? With a shovel? Dimitri, go back to your cottage and stay there.
Oh, you want...
Come on, Marson.
She's digging.
And I think I know why.
She sees us.
Go back. Go away, both of you.
Stay here. I want to talk to you, Vonnie. What are you doing?
What I'm doing is... I'm burying the little garden that was mine for Daddy. Little personal things, Johnny, that I grew with my own hands for him alone. Now that he's gone, this would be only one more bit of memory. Please, leave me, Johnny, to finish.
Wait, Vonnie.
What?
Before you turn under that little yellow flower. Here, I'll show you.
No, Johnny, don't touch it.
Here. Source of a poison called pyrodameron.
How did you know?
Here, look.
Oh, no, you don't. I'll kill you, too. I'll kill you.
Oh, nobody, no.
Oh, Walter. Walter, help me.
Help you.
Johnny was in love with me, but I turned him down, and he came out here.
No good, Bonnie.
I hate you. I hate you both. Everything would have been all right if you hadn't come along. I hate you. Listen, Johnny. $1 million. $1.5 million. You and I could...
Oh, you dirty...
No, Johnny, please don't. Please.
Believe me, this is one case I wish I'd never seen. Oh, sure, you, the company, are all right. You won't have to pay off $1.5 million in insurance. Your gain. But me, I've lost something. Faith. Faith and... I'm sick over the whole thing. Expense account, I'll add it up later. Right now, I'm going out and get some flowers. Some clean flowers. And just sit and look at them. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Now, here's our star to tell you about next week's exciting story.
Next week, tell me, did you ever wake up from a pleasant dream to find a smoking gun in your hand and 2 bodies at your feet? Well, I have. Join us next week, and I'll tell you about it. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. It is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone, who also wrote this week's story. Heard in the cast were Virginia Gregg, Lawrence Dobkin, Harry Bartell, Eric Snowden, Howard McNair, John Daner, Gene Tatum, Joseph Kearns, Paul Richards, and Jack Moyles. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Be sure to join us on Monday night, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.